Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to Know Your Gear episode 224. We've made it yet another week. Hope it was a good week for everyone playing guitar, doing cool guitar things. If not, you have the weekend to start doing those things. As always, if you're new to this live stream, if you're trying to get my attention or start a subject or a question, I don't know why I can't say either one of those things. To me, start with a question mark first. That way I know it's directed towards me. Of course, I try to get to all the super chats. And if you're watching the rebroadcast, I timestamp all the things we kind of cover. And so you can go right to anything that you found interesting. And of course, as always, thank you to all of you who are streaming it through whatever podcast platform you like. I don't know why all that. It's like I should just have it written down. It's just a weekly speech. I should just read it at this point. So a couple cool things to talk about today. Couple interesting things to I have a box of something to share with you guys that I'm kind of excited about. We'll share that towards the end. And of course, I want to thank the moderators, Ben Coombs and I'm Not Old, I'm Vintage, Unfreaking Believable. And I thought I saw Grumpy My Guitar. I did. Thank you to everyone. And then anyone moderators that jump on afterwards. Thank you so much. If you don't know who those people are, those are the people with the cool blue name and blue wrench next to them. And they're the ones that help facilitate this thing every week. And a lot of them have their own amazing channels. So please don't forget that and check out their channels. So, as always, I try to come in early and grab some of the questions or subjects that were brought before the show even started. I want to thank you guys for coming early and doing that, and we'll hit some of those. And the first one comes from Fast Teddy. 1 T, so it could be Fast Teddy, or it could be Fast Eddie. You know, I'm never really good at the license plate game, so I'm going to say it's Fast Eddie 333. That'd be my guess, but it could be Fast Teddy with sharing a T. Just so you know, Fast Eddie could go all those different ways. Anyways, it says, any update on when we can get your setup sheets? Thank you, sir. And I wanted to hit that one because I'm pretty sure he asked that last week and I saw it, didn't get to it. What I don't know is if I know in the last couple live streams I didn't say anything, but it's in the description down below. Let's see if it's in this description. If not, I will add it. Yep. Fast Eddie 333 at the bottom of the description on a lot of videos. I didn't announce it, but it's there. It'll say free PDFs. And if you click on that, it will, actually, let's just do it. There you go. If you go to it, it'll go to this to the Blackstock Pickups page. It's just a link, and there's the Strat inspection sheet, the Les Paul inspection sheets, which are sheets I've done for videos, a repair ticket, a sample, and I think both sides of a repair ticket, just so you can see. And any other sheets that I will be adding will be added there, so you know. So it's kind of like a what do you call it? It's kind of like a best of both worlds for me. I just put on, since I have that website, since I have my pickups on there and stuff, it's just easy. So I just created that stuff. So a lot of times now, what I used to have a long time ago, many months ago, no, like a year and a half ago, I used to have the knowyourgear.net page, and that's where I was housing that stuff. And really, to be honest with you, I think I said it before, I was paying for that every year, and all it was free information for everybody. And I thought about just putting on Dropbox, and then I was like, well, I have this website, why don't we just put it on there? So it's there. It's just a link, free to PDF. You don't have to check out the website or anything. Just goes to the right to that link. So there you go. There's any of those stuff. And anytime you have any suggestions, I've changed those sheets a couple times throughout the years as people give me suggestions and do stuff. I try to do them. I haven't updated them in a while, I don't think. Months, meaning I don't think I've done it in the last couple months. Go back to next question or subject is from JS Tree. I'm just kidding, man. I just messing with everybody today. J Street, but it could be JS Treat. J Street 1106 says, hey Phil, I'm 15 and I always loved hobbies. I would imagine you always loved them since you're pretty young. It's been your whole life is just always. That's a compliment. Take it that way. 15 was a great year. 15, 16, 17. Those are great years. You're old enough now, you can kind of do what you want. But sure, your parents can kind of tell you what to do, but you're still on their wallet too. So you kind of get a little bit of do what you want and a little bit of their money. It's a perfect world. Ride that as long as you can. Anyways, it says he tinkers with airsoft and woodworking. And your channel has given me the courage to work on my guitars. I appreciate it so much. Love the channel. Thank you, man. I just want to give you a shout out. And of course, J Street, I just assume it could be girl or boy. I don't know. But hey, whoever you are, thank you for giving me the shout out. But also, I just want to let you know what's great about that is I'm happy to hear that stuff. It makes old people like me happy when young people are engaging in the things that we love. And there you go. So awesome. Next, I want to grab a couple more of these. Southpaw 007. This is, he's been on the channel before because I remember the joke where I said he was a left-handed James Bond, I think. So it says, "Hi, Phil. I'm looking into a Mesa Boogie Mark V 25, which is an amp I own, and the Mark V 35. Which head would you recommend? The headphones and the speaker defeat are a must. Are there any other amps that are close in features?" So first, I've never tried the Mark V 35. I've owned the Mark V 35 literally, since the day it came out. I bought it the day it came out. Some of the viewers will know those stories that I've talked about in the past. But I've had it since the day it came out. I still have the same one. Nothing's changed. Still love it. Still stand by it. I like it. I've never tried a 35, but I imagine the 35, besides having the extra boost features and stuff, obviously more wattage, might give you more low end, more headroom on the clean, a little bit more punch. I don't need that. And one of the things I like about the 25 and I don't like about the 35 is the 25 is super small. So that's something I like. I like the idea that it's practical to take anywhere. The only other amp that I would recommend to check out is an amp that I will be having a video, but not until September. And late in September, is the Engel Iron Ball SE. But I'd like to tell you, I'm just giving you that so you can do some research on it now. I have one for review, and I've been A-Bing these two amps. And the reason I tell you is I can't tell you it's better. It's totally different in feature sets. It does a lot of things I wish the Mark did, and there's a couple things I think the Mark beats it at. And that's definitely a video when I hopefully when it comes out, when I put my first review out of it, I hope to tail on right after that a comparison of something like that, because it's really loaded with features. And I think, in my opinion, my humble opinion of these two amps, they're two of the greatest small, really tiny amps that are loaded with features that are built really, really well. And again, the Mesa's made in the USA and the Engel's made in Germany, just high quality. Seems like these are two contenders. But like I said, I definitely can't say there's a winner, because there's things that one does better than the other and vice versa. So we'll discover that together, hopefully. And then Matt's question said, "Phil, he means me, if you, so I said I, but it's you. If I was CEO of Peavey, okay, what would I have done differently 10 years ago until now?" That's a great question, I guess. It's a great question for me because it's kind of serves to me. But the thing I want to point out is anybody can answer this question with 10 years of hindsight. So, what would I say? What would I do as CEO of Peavey, 10 years ago? Well, after watching them for the last 10 years, I'm going to be like, everything that they did, I would have done the opposite. That's easy to say. That's different. But I'm going to try and right now imagine myself 10 years ago. And if I was hired as CEO of Peavey, what would I do? Now, keep in mind, the one thing I don't know, because, is what is their top selling items. But I will tell you what I would have. I can tell you that in hindsight now, we know what Peavey's big mistake was. It was Carvin's big mistake. And when I say Carvin, I don't mean the new Kiesel. I mean the Carvin side of the Kiesel-Carvin breakoff. They bet on the wrong horse. Carvin was like, "Hey, Kiesel guys, you go off and you guys make guitars and hope that works out for you. We're going to make pro audio because, guitars made overseas are going to kill the market." For some reason, didn't see that amps overseas and amps declining in sales and PAs pretty much going 100% overseas and declining in sales weren't going to be a problem. So we see now that was a big mistake for Carvin, obviously. That's why they downsized so much. Peavey is in the same boat in the idea that I would probably say this 10 years ago. So I feel pretty like I'm not using my hindsight is what I'm trying not to do. I would have definitely said, look, Peavey needs to look towards really making good quality instruments and a smaller line of amplifiers that are really, really good, I probably, because I don't know much about drums, would have said, okay, yes, because Peavey, stopped making drums. And that was more than 10 years ago, but you get the idea. I definitely wouldn't have given up on the Cirrus series of USA-made basses from Peavey. I think those were, not only were those great, but I think if you really honed on them, they could have owned a small chunk of the high-end bass market and continued that. The difference between, and this is why I want to say this, the difference between me saying these things, besides I'm just some jack off on YouTube that can say anything, and it doesn't really matter compared to the guys that run the actual company Peavey, is the one thing that I would bring to this scenario that they don't, is that Peavey is like any other company in the idea they get used to making so much money, right? And they don't want to go down, right? So they probably were making decisions from the get-go, like, how could we stay Peavey making money, right? And I don't have that insight. In other words, actually, insight's not the right word. I don't have that in my mind. I would have looked at it as like, how can I make Peavey the brand it was and keep it going and keep it relevant and keep it strong, and even if it's smaller now. And that's probably what I would have focused on. Would I have been right? I don't know, but they are definitely not right. The Peavey brand to me is a dead brand. It's dead. They got a few products that are doing okay. Look, I like the Classic Series stuff still. I like the Classic 20 head. The 6505 mini head's cool. The 6505 head's cool. I mean, they still make some cool things. Some. But as a whole, they're not. They're a shell of what they used to be. We all know that. And I definitely wouldn't have given up on the dealers, which is where I think they made their biggest mistake. Because I think they could have really, they rocked when it came to taking care of the dealers and making the dealers profitable, and they kind of abandoned the dealers. So that would be my take on the situation. Of course, I'm trying not to use all the hindsight of knowing what happened to them in the last 10 years. And I would have stayed away from, like I said, I would have stayed away from China as much as possible as them. And not because of any other reason than everybody else did it, like Line 6 and stuff. And I think Peavey could have, like the Kiesel guys, rebranded a little bit, strengthened the brand, stayed in the U.S., but like I said, that would have involved being smaller. I know if you read articles about Hartley Peavey and stuff, he's even said that, the United States government has made it impossible for him to do business here or keep a factory here, and that's why everybody went to seas and all this overseas and all this other stuff. And that's probably true, but I agree with that what he's saying, because I mean I've seen it. It's hard, but it's not impossible because obviously companies are still doing it. So there you go. That would be my thoughts. And like I said, I'm missing one big key element, which is I don't know what their hot sellers were. So I could be, obviously this whole thing I'm saying could be wrong, but also I have to acknowledge the fact that although I don't look at the Viper series as a huge success, it could be wrong. That could be their number one selling platform, and that's probably why they leaned into that. Me, if I was them again, I would have stayed the hell away from Line 6 and Fender and all the modeling amps. I would have got away from that. And then I think the Viper series is good. So those of you who have Viper series, I like them. But as a company, I don't think I would have played in any sandboxes where I can't dominate. And Peavey had some weapons. They had some strong products that were well respected as artists, by musicians, by working musicians, that were affordable, that were made in the USA. And man, they could have just hammered on that. And I think they would have seen a decline in their company size, but they would be strong. Now they don't seem as strong. Interesting question. I'm glad you asked me, because it's nice to kind of talk like that. Again, I only say this stuff because I'm hoping a lot of you guys think, like, what would you do if you're CEO? Like, think about that this weekend. What would you do if you're CEO of a company that was once a well-respected powerhouse of affordable gear, and now, and if you disagree with me that Peavey's not what it was, well then fine. I always acknowledge everybody's got a differing opinion, but I will say this: I think we could all agree Peavey's not what it was physically, financially, in all the ways. So, like I said, it would be interesting to see, think about it this weekend. What would you have done to keep Peavey the powerhouse it was? So, Landon says Peavey made some Star Wars guitars. Seemed like an awesome idea. Said no one. You know what's funny, Landon, is that's only one part of that equation. They made. Remember, they signed all kinds of deals like that. Those are licensing deals, of course. So they signed it with Star Wars. They signed it with. So did Fernandez, by the way. They did Marvel guitars. They did The Walking Dead. Remember those guitars? And I'm pretty sure, I haven't looked, but I'm pretty sure all those guitars go used more than they went in for new because people like them for the collectability factor. But yes, Landon, I agree with you, by the way. Those kind of decisions where I feel reek of the desperation of like, okay, what's relevant? How can we put it on our product and be relevant? Instead of just saying, you know what's relevant? An amp that falls off the back of the truck, bounces twice, and still turns on at the gig. That's relevant. That never goes away. That's strong, and you hammer on that. You know what I mean? Again, since you guys are letting me know, I'm a weird personality in the idea that a lot of people see me as like always nice, but I'm, like I said, I have an aggressive nature too. What you didn't ask me was, you asked me what I would do if I was CEO of Peavey. You didn't ask me what I would do if I was the marketing guy at Peavey. If I was the marketing guy at Peavey, I would have seriously just started making campaigns about how bulletproof Peavey was. And I would have made sure that the product was still being made the way it was before, when it lasted and it was good. And I would have never given up reconing speakers, no matter how much the whole market kind of swayed away from that. No matter how cheap Chinese import speakers got, I would have still done that stuff, because in the marketing, you could attack everyone and win. I'd put out campaigns and I'd be like, I don't know if I'd say line 6 specifically, but I would imply it. I would say, hey, when your line 6 breaks, don't forget Peavey. You know what I mean? I would have put ads out that showed a Peavey amp being used by working musicians that, like the classic, something that's like a Fender amp. And I'd be like, what are you going to do with the extra money you save? Basically implying that you didn't buy the Fender, you bought the Peavey. What are you going to do with the fact that you have a working amp on stage that sounds great and you have extra money in your pocket? I would have toted that, is what I would have toted after. So that's what I would have done. And that's not, again, hindsight. I think they should have done that from the start. I think that was originally the thing that they did that. It's not hard to find a dude who is 50 years old or older in this country or around the world that hasn't used, if they have played out at any time in their life, hasn't used some kind of Peavey product, PA system, amp, guitar, drum set, and literally swears by it turned on every night after night, spilled beers on it, kept going. That's a lot to be said. They had a lot of legacy there. They didn't have to jump on the bandwagon like everybody else. So there you go. Again, I hope that feels more positive. I don't hope it felt negative. Like I said, I like Peavey. And you never know. Maybe Peavey will come back. I always say that. They could come back strong. It happens. There are brands that come back. They make comebacks, right? You're not out until you're dead. Till they shut the doors and file the bankruptcy, they can come back. Paul Steer says, totally agree on the bulletproof nature of the old Peavey amps. Yeah, of course. Look, the only complaint everybody had was some complaints. Some people said they weren't cool stuff, because it was not cool, it wasn't flashy. Although I think the only legitimate complaint I ever had about Peavey was that stuff was heavy. So that's it. So what? It was heavy. Not a big deal. I mean, it is now. As you're older, everything heavy starts sucking a little bit more. But for the viewer who's 15, heavy amp, it's just a heavy amp. Yeah, Jim Woodward said 58. He's 58. Used a PVPA speakers for years. Yeah, it was legit. It was legit stuff. It was built well. And it was a different mentality. Like I said, reconing speakers. What a concept! The idea that you could just blow a speaker and fix it. And like I said, they kowtowed, and don't get me wrong, to defend Peavey just a little bit, and then I'll go on the next subject. Defend Peavey just a little bit, man. They did have everybody gunning for them. I mean, it was bad enough when they had to compete with Fender, and Fender, of course, is everywhere and had brand power and all that stuff. But man, once the Line 6, Behringer, Black Star, I can't name all the names, but you get the idea. Once there was 50 priced, affordable product lines on the market, it's a tough thing to fight. So, Scott, I just want to hit this because I see it real quick. Scott says, "Hey Phil, will you do a video on your Blug Guitar amp?" I did. So I'll link it when I timestamp this, but yeah, I have a video of it. I don't have a video of the new one. I can tell you right now, the only thing that's not in that video that I could do with hindsight now is I got I don't know, is it the Blug amp one, the silver one? Definitely would have got the second edition, the black one. Absolutely, no questions asked. I feel like that one, I feel like I could, if I had the black one with more gain, there's a black and silver one. I don't know the name differences. Like one's a Mercury or something like that. Doesn't matter. It's easy to figure out. He makes basically two, a black one and a silver one. The black one has more gain, but when I was able to try that one, I was able to get to do everything the silver one does, but the silver one doesn't have all the gain the black one does. And I was thinking, like when they sent the silver one out, I was thinking, oh, well, that's the traditional one. That's cool. But definitely, I can tell you right now, the first opportunity I get to sell off the silver one and get the black one, I've been kind of looking, I've got to find a deal on a black one. And then once I do it, I'll buy that one and I'll sell off the silver one. That's what I plan to do. So that's to give you hindsight on that. Other than that, everything else in the video, I think I stand behind. I think I still like everything about it I said I liked in the video. All right. What else? Oh, I think I got just a couple more easy before the show ones. This one was from Maximus. It says, "Dear Philadelphia McKnight, I hope this question finds you well." It did. "What kind of pickups do you like to use in your Ibanez guitars? Looking for a bridge pickup for a mahogany body saber." For Ibanez guitars, I have a couple behind me. Other than like the gem that has the gem pickups and the Joe Satriani, the Satriani that has the stock pickups. All of my Ibanez's have DiMarzios, and they have usually either the Super Distortion PAF in them, which is very generic but still very good, or I use the Fortitude in the bridge, and then either the Fortitude in the neck or the PAF, but mostly the dual Fortitudes, like I did in that video. That's what's in almost all my Ibanez's. So there you go. I like those. There you go. But I've done a lot of reviews of DiMarzio. Look, there's great pickups everywhere. Obviously bare knuckles and Seymour Duncan stuff. But for some reason, Ibanez to me is, even though Ibanez, the company, currently mostly puts, Seymour Duncans and they put in bare knuckles. I think that's just to obviously appeal to a younger generation and stuff, to freshen up the line, put different pickups in it, gives it a fresher look. But to me, the DiMarzio and Ibanez is just a great combo for me. John Abel says, "I finally own my first tube amp." Okay. I have a Morgan SW50. He says Dumbo based, but I think it means Dumble, but we all know what that it could be a Dumbo based. Modified Fender Super Clean amp. And what drive pedals would give me a great natural low gain tone? The advice I would give you on that is, things I've learned from the YouTube game, the reviewing and all this stuff, and trying so much gear, is brands of pedals aren't really super important. I mean, sure, there are brands I like, like obviously I like LPD because Lawrence is great. He makes great pedals. I love Keeley pedals because Robert Keeley's like the kindest guy on the planet. And of course they make great pedals. There's things like that. So of course I trust those products. I like those products. I like those people. So of course I'm going to recommend them. What I've learned is it's types of pedals, not brands of pedals. So, tube screamers and then all the variations of, you know what I mean? So for that kind of amp, for me, what I like for low gain, I'll tell you is, again, I kind of show my boards pretty regularly. You guys see what I'm using. I like the 68. That's by LPD. That's one of my favorite pedals to use as a lower gain, kind of little bit of light Marshall tone pedal. I like the OD11, but they don't make it anymore, but love pedals, but it's a Zen drive. And then, so when I say that, I mean literally the Zen drive and any copy of the Zen drive, including the More version. Any of those are low gain. Any of the Tone King pedals, which to me, the Tone King pedals are all the variations of Tone King pedals. But of course, don't forget the Boss Blues driver. What a fantastic pedal. And the reason I say that is it's not hard. You do a little bit of Google search. You know, you don't even have to watch YouTube channels or pedal channels. Just go Google stuff and Google like what pedals are in the vein of Tube Screamers, what pedals are in the vein of like Klon pedals, what pedals in the vein of Zen pedals, Zen Drive pedals, which is like the Dumble kind of thing. And then find the price point you like, buy one, and is there one better than that? Sure, but that's the A/B mess that we all create on the YouTube arena. Look, there's a difference between trying to find a good pedal, which is what you're trying to do, and a difference between I have a ton of good pedals and I want a different pedal. And different meaning better. So there's the search for gear never ends. It's why one, there's an actual real reason, which is musicians' ear changes all the time. They're the things that inspire them changes. There's all kinds of, you know, to see a world that's only a few colors is very boring. To see a world that has infinite colors is really exciting. So the idea that there's infinite possibilities of your tones for your gear is exciting. And I think that's why a lot of musicians go towards that. And then of course, you know, if you're just a hobbyist / musician, you know, hey, you know, you work, you got some money to spend, and here's the deal. You can spend it on a bottle of wine. You can spend it on a new pedal. You can spend it on a new blender, motor scooter. I don't know what people buy. I just buy guitars. So, but other people buy stuff. And so, like I said, so that would be my advice is find, I would try something like that. Personally, I like anything that's like in the Zen Drive vein. I don't know what it is. The overrated special. And this is the thing I've learned. This is what I was going to say. I didn't even finish this thing I started with. What I learned over doing all these reviews. I have so many versions of the same pedals here because of YouTube. Literally just because of YouTube. Right? Because of YouTube, I have all these ones because I bought them to make videos or a company sent them. And then after a while, I start going, well, this one's better. Well, this one's a little better. Well, this one's really better. And really what I come to the conclusion is really what you come to conclusion. It's when you come around the full circle, you come back to the beginning going, I guess I could have just ended up with any one of those and been happy for the most part. And, but here's where I don't say this. I've seen some channels say this, like, you don't need to try new things. Everything is the same. That is not fun because that is some BS, because it's easy for me to tell you don't need to experiment. Trust me. Like I said, I went full circle and came to the beginning. Well, here's the deal. Yeah, did I come to that conclusion? But that journey was pretty freaking amazing, and I hope you get to enjoy it too. Trying 50 different pedals. Yeah, it's one of the coolest things that's I've ever done in my life. So, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I mean, looking back, I have no regrets of hours of chasing tone. No regrets, none. Because in my life, here's how it works. If I wasn't doing that, I'd probably be watching TV. I'd rather do that. I don't remember all the crappy TV shows I watched, but I remember all the gear I've checked out. James 5150, who's an Eddie Van Halen fan, I'm guessing, says, Phil, yep, I sent 2 EVH Wolfs back, he means Wolfgangs, to musician's friend because of dings in the back of the neck is what I think he's saying. Thinking sent from the store or EVH quality assurance problems. Well, absolutely could be EVH quality assurance problems, but as we've all discovered, musician's friend Guitar Center has a problem. It is a problem. Musician's friend Guitar Center is having a problem. So you guys know, obviously we talked about the amp, but you know, here's what's funny. It never ends with them. So obviously I returned the amp. I got the money back, but like I said, I have gift cards. So I'm just trying to use up the gift cards. This week I went to the Guitar Center. I'd like to say the one in Tempe, because here's why. I don't live next to the one in Tempe, Arizona. There's 5 Guitar Centers where I live, but I live closer to the one that's in Mesa. I went to the one in Tempe, Arizona, because on their website, the thing I needed was in stock at the Tempe store. It was just small, and including, actually, I have them here. I got some strings. Right? Like told you, I've been kind of burning up those gift cards with just things I can use or need. And I went in there, and I'd like to say first, again, just like I said last time, the employees were great, kind, helpful. You know, in this case, I know some of you guys sided last time because I was on YouTube and that's why they're nice to me. These ones were nice to me mostly because a lot of them used to be actually customers in my store and knew me from then. And, you know, and So, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make was Guitar Center strikes again. No problems. I'm happy with the whole experience, but citing what you said, I went there because they said this item was in stock at that store and not at the Mesa store. So I drove the extra Tempe store. When I got there, they didn't have it in stock in box. They only had display models, which I was totally fine with. The guy was super helpful. He asked me if I had a problem with that. Nope. I didn't even ask for a discount because I was just happy to get the item. However, I'd like to point out, from our experiences, we know now, not the employees, but the Guitar Center Corporation's policy would have been, if I would have ordered that online, they would have shipped me the one that was out of box. So it's not hard, after reading the hundreds of comments that you guys sent to me and made on the videos about Guitar Center Musician's Friend and this policy. Yes, I have no doubt they're sending you B-stock damaged product. It seems to be a policy. I don't know what to tell you, other than, there's other choices out there. I shouldn't say better, but we'll say other. We'll keep it, nice. I've chosen that. Look, I think I got like $106 left on the gift cards now. Once that's gone, I'm done. Yeah, I'm not going to do it anymore. Guitar Center and Musician's Friend, they're going to have to change this policy I like said, I don't think there's anything wrong with selling the floor models, the B stocks, the returns, all that stuff. It's absolutely part of business. Obviously, I had a store. However, to me, you disclose that to the customer and you somehow compensate the customer for the difference of them not getting full, clean retail product, new product. And that doesn't seem to be their policy. Their policy is to ship what they got and see who throws a fit. So my answer to you, sorry, which is James 5150, is don't buy another Wolfgang from them. Buy it from Sweetwater. Buy it from a dealer on Reverb. Buy it from AMS. Buy it from Sam Ash. I've seen a couple of comments where people say these other stores do it. However, I've never seen it, so that doesn't mean it's not true. But one or two comments versus the hundreds. I have never, like I said, 224 episodes of this, over 30 million views and streams collectively over all these podcasts and stuff. I have never seen the outcry of people who basically got fucked by Guitar Center. That is an epic thing to see. I've never seen it. I almost feel horrible for mentioning them in the past after watching the outcry I saw. It's crazy. It's crazy. And since I'm on that tangent, I should also point out again, the thing that really shocked me the most was how many Guitar Center employees reached out and said basically, because they're good people. They're just people that work at a company. And you could sit there and please don't judge them because that's a bunch of crap too. Look, you need a job. Everybody needs a job. Okay? And ethically, I'm not on board, but unless they're doing something criminal, which is unfortunately not criminal, it's just bad business, the employees don't agree with it as a whole. They're just stuck with it. And anyone who has a job knows that's who's really getting abused by this. That's why I'm telling you not to take any crap out on the employees. I don't think that's right. If you have a problem with the policy, we know who makes the policy at Guitar Center. It's the management, upper management. It's not the guy working the counter. That guy's just trying to help you out, man. Or gal. Okay, I'm sorry. You guys are now putting comments. So, like I said, I just, as always, if I use a curse word, I put it where I think it needs to go. Yeah, and then Richard Lewis just says American AMS, American Music Supply, advertises blims and such with discounts and warranty. This is where I find this issue. I feel like we spend too much time on this Guitar Center stuff, but we'll just cap this off. This is the problem I see with Guitar Center / Musician's Friend. They do too. See, it'd be one thing if their policy was like they don't believe, like. I don't know why you would say this, but they don't believe in blims, returns, and defective merchandise, right? All merchandise, if it came to the manufacturer to some point, is new. But in their own stores / website, they have stuff listed as restocks, blims, right? They have this stuff listed. But then we'll send you technically stuff that's restocked, blimmed, or missing items, and then say, in that case, that's new because we were out of all the new. And if we're out of new, then a blim is not a blim. I guess it's just new. It's a weird policy. They need to ditch it. Like I said, I don't know what to tell you guys. we'll see. I will tell you this: if Guitar Center ever fixes it, I will let you guys know. And if you find out they fix it, let me know. And that note, we got to stop talking about them, because the more we talk about them, we're actually helping them, whether you realize it or not. Sadly enough, that's the other thing you learn on this game, is talking about the crappy people still gives them stuff. It helps them. Richard says, oh, no, I'm sorry. I lost. Boats, Cars 1. Boats and Cars 1. Was it Cars and Boats? Boats and Cars. Okay, anyways, he says, do you think the new Gibson Garage will set a new trend for guitar makers? No. The Guitar Garage, I think, remember, I know nothing about this, other than what you've seen. I've seen a couple listings here and there. I've seen the announcement they made. I saw a couple YouTube channels went there. I believe Ryan from 60 Cycle Hum visited there. I'm sure some other channels, if I didn't mention that, I've seen little bits and pieces. I tend to only follow YouTube channels that I know them. You know what I mean? I've hung out with them and stuff. I subscribe. So, anyways, on that note, what I think is going on is most businesses, most companies, Fender does, I believe. I definitely Kiesel does, and I'm trying to think others that do it. They all have like, I don't know what you call it, like a lobby or a studio. They have a place. I think even Framus did for forever. They have a place where if you're an artist and you're in town, you can go there and check out stuff, right? It's like a room. They all kind of do it. When you go to the factories and stuff, you notice this a lot. They have a place in the factory where musicians, mostly not just celebrities, but just working musicians, musicians who are working with the brand in some way, can go and check out stuff. And I think that's kind of what the Guitar Garage is, or the Gibson Garage is that. But then they opened it to the public and then said, hey, you can, like a gift shop, you can buy Gibson stuff. Seems like a cool idea. I mean, it's in Nashville. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with the idea. You know what I mean? It just makes sense. Like I said. But the question wasn't what I thought of the Gibson Garage. The question was, do I think other companies will do it? I don't know. My guess is no. And again, notice I said my guess because I don't know. My guess is no. And here's why this is what I'm basing my guess on. Is that it's probably very hard, even for Gibson, to turn a profit on that deal. You know what I mean? By the time they factor in the cost and all the stuff, I mean, maybe selling guitars and all that stuff, but after you staff it and deal with stuff. So it's probably not a very lucrative thing, even for Gibson. So a smaller brand, even less so. You know what I mean? I mean, how many people are walking in and buying, you know what I mean, stuff all the time? I mean, it's going to, and right now everybody's going to like, oh, but so-and-so and this so-and-so did. Well, yeah, it's because it's new and excited. It's honed in. But once, in a year or two, you know what I mean? If you visit Nashville, are you going to go to Gibson Garage? Or are you going to go to Carter's Vintage Guitars? Are you going to, you know what I mean? Are you going to go to the normal haunts? So I just don't know. And again, that's hard to say because Gibson is brand power. It's a big brand. I mean, it's one of the two biggest brands in the world. It's Fender Gibson. It's Ford Chevy. It's just been around forever. So I just don't see a whole lot of companies following suit with the idea because not that it doesn't work. It's just it's going to be almost really hard for a small company to do that. It's why, think of it this way. Here's a good way to put it. And again, this is like all these answers on the show, very off the cuff, off my hip. I would imagine if you were to ask me, and I'm going to ask you now, how many guitar brands are successful at selling merchandise, T-shirts, hats, mouse pads? You're going to come up with maybe 2 or 3. I mean, you know what I mean? Ibanez sells some shirts, I'm sure, but not like Fender. There's no Ibanez shirts in the Target or in the Dillard's or wherever your department store is. Gibson and Fender, they can sell shirts, they can sell merch. And my guess is if they can sell that stuff, then they can have a store where it's going to be impossible, for... Oh, by the way, I should have said, I said Kiesel. Okay, I was going to say Kiesel has an area too like that too. So that's just my thought. I don't think it will take off as an idea for everybody because of that reason. You know what I mean? I could see people, including myself, going to Nashville and be like, oh, I'm going to stop at the Gibson store and then I'll buy a Gibson shirt You know what I mean? And then be like, I went to it. You know what I mean? I don't know. You'd have to be a really big nerd like me to go, hey, I went to the Nags store in Maryland and walked in and there was Joe Nag standing there. So I said hi and then I bought a Nag shirt. I mean, that's not going to be the case for most people. You got to be pretty nerdy for that. So, Mr. Austin Muse says, I want KYG shirts in Target. Yeah, that would go over great. I think you guys don't understand what I'm saying when I say that, what that means when those retailers have those shirts. That's some next level stuff to have that in our industry. I think a lot of people, look, whatever brand you're into, you're going to perceive that brand as being big. If you're into Strandberg guitars and you have a Strandberg shirt, you're going to be like, who wouldn't want a Strandberg shirt? That's great. When I say Gibson Fender, you understand, like Harley Davidson, what I'm saying is people who have never played a guitar, much less a Gibson or a Fender, own a Gibson Fender shirt is a powerful statement. That is literally epitome of the statement or the term lifestyle brand. It's someone who's like, I don't surf, but I'm gonna wear a surf wax shirt. You know what I mean? Or sex wax, I should say. Sex wax shirt. You know what I mean? I don't play guitar, but I'm going to wear a Gibson shirt. Because again, it's like an image. Oh, people think I'm a guitar player because apparently somebody thinks guitar players are cool. And God bless them for that. Anyways, the point is that's the different world. Like no one would go out and buy an Ibanez shirt so that their friends think they play guitar because their friends wouldn't know what an Ibanez is. You know what I mean? But, I mean, you know, people know Gibson Fender. So that's why I said it's a different level, whether you realize it or not. And then Lana Maddox says, brands on shirts is paying to advertise the company. Yeah, well, of course, that's the power of it. You know, the term I heard before lifestyle branding came up, the term lifestyle brand, what used to come up was the term tattoo branding. I don't know if any of you guys ever heard this. Tattoo branding was a term used for any brand that was powerful enough that people would tattoo it on themselves. For instance, Superman logos and Ford logos and whatever else people tattoo on themselves, right? Like literally people tattooing like Mickey Mouse, you know what I mean? Mighty Mouse, you know what I mean? Spider-Man, Harley Davidson logos, Gibsons. So yes, do people tattoo all kinds of things on themselves? Sure, but we're talking about like going into a tattoo shop and seeing a brand as an option of a tattoo. Like, would you like a butterfly or a Ford logo? That was what was called tattoo branding. And that term went away real fast, and then lifestyle branding became a thing. And I noticed like that everybody started saying lifestyle branding. And the sad thing is, like I said, Gibson Fender are lifestyle branding. That's why certain companies like Marshall want to be lifestyle branding. I think Marshall's close, but I still think you have to be a little bit of a guitar player to know Marshall. I think people, non-musicians, when they see Marshalls, the look of it, that brass plate on a bunch of big amps with a bunch of white squiggly written on it, I think people know it's connected to rock and roll and it's something that rock and roll musicians use, but I don't think the average non-musician person knows specifically Marshall by name like they know Fender Gibson. And again, I'm not saying they don't, I'm just saying it's not in the same league. It's just not. And so I tell you that, right, like I said, because realistically, I think I've sold like 30,000 shirts, something like that. It's some crazy number. And like I said, enough to fill like a stadium. And then companies like PRS have sold lots, but I think, you don't understand. Fender Gibson are on like another level. That stuff. I think it was explained to me once, and then I'll jump to the next subject. It was explained to me once by somebody at Fender that a large percentage of the world doesn't even play guitar. Okay. And they don't sell guitars like in those countries, but they sell Fender shirts, basically, is the gist of that story. Was think about that. There are places where guitar is not even that prevalent, but yet people still buy those brand shirts. So anyways, all right, next question. I'm going to get to super chats. I know sometimes you guys would ask me about, but like I said, I super chats are just, like I said, it's not guaranteed I'll answer them all, but like I said, it's very rare if I don't get to them. This next one comes from Richard. I'm going to say the third because it's Richard 3. Richard the third says, Phil, is it okay to use spray guitar polish? He says 65. I think he means Dunlop 65 polish. With a matte finish, can you get rid of scratches or shiny spots on a matte body? Thanks. No. Matte finishes are pretty much evil for the most part. I don't know any other way to fix them for the most part. That's part of the appeal of the matte finish is it gets glossy in spots and it's matted in spots. What I will tell you is that when cleaning a matte finish, the one thing you want to do with polish, because you don't want to polish that finish, is mist it. And I say spray, but I think people understand when I say mist. Maybe about 12 inches away from a polished cloth, spray it so it just, the mist of it gets on there. You just want the cloth just damp. And I mean a little damp by damp. I guess that's a good enough word to explain it. And then I use that. Just put it in your head this way. You want enough of the polish on the cloth just so that it has enough friction on the cloth to grab any kind of dirt or grime off the guitar. But yes, if you spray polish on a matte finish and you start using you're basically buffing on that finish. I wouldn't recommend that. And again, as I've always pointed out, when it comes to finish work, I am not a finish work person. These are just things I do when I work on guitars, and these are methods I've used with success, but, not so much. Yeah, there you go. Anyways, okay. And then this one's from Edgar, and these are all the end of the pre-show questions and topics. It says, hey, Phil, anyone notice the price increase in some Squiers? Classic Vibe 60s, Jazzmaster Classic Vibe 70s, Strat went from $429, I'm assuming he's saying US, to $449. Okay, so up $20. Not as bad as what I thought it could have been, by the way. So that tells you a lot right there. Do you think or know of coming price increases in most guitars? Why does it seem like people are posting? Oh, so I'm sorry. I got another question. That was another question. So yes, look, we know price increases are coming. We have inflation. I don't think anywhere on the planet isn't seeing some kind of inflation. In the U.S., we had a hike in minimum wage right before the COVID thing. That's obviously going to create inflation. We have obviously a lack of materials, and we have a high demanding of demand on the market. There's a ton of reasons, and we're seeing prices going up. Every company I talk to in any way is basically saying they got price increases coming, if they haven't rolled them out already. Yes. So the reason why I pin this question, I try to pin questions I find are interesting. This question, the reason I find it interesting is this is where I want you guys to kind of center yourself. Okay, use a little chi here. Kind of look, prices going up on gasoline, prices going up on food, prices going up on your electricity bill. Those are real concerns, and you should worry about them. Prices going up on the stuff we don't need, like guitars, and I don't. You understand what I mean by that. I'll stick by with what I stand by. In the height of last year, in the height of the guitar boom of last year, I literally bought guitars at cheap prices, no problem. Just not giving in to temptation. If your thing is, and I say this over and over again, I'll keep reminding you guys, if your thing is that you want this thing, this thing that you want, this guitar, this pedal, this amp. Look, they're luxuries. And if you can afford it and the price goes up, then buy it. You know what I mean? You work hard for your money, I'm assuming, unless you inherited a lot of money or won it. But I'm going to assume that you're a hardworking person. You're a hardworking person, and if this is what makes you happy, then I guess make yourself happy. Like I said before, if you're not hurting anyone or breaking the law, do whatever the hell you want. However, what I will remind you is if money is not... if money is an object, like it is for most people, like me, I wait. You know what I mean? I'm not in a hurry. Especially, I always kind of chuckle, and this is, again, I think it's just because you don't have enough guitar friends. Sometimes it's nice to have friends that you can bounce ideas off of. I think this, if you have, I don't want to say even a wall of guitars like this, but if you have one of those racks with 6 guitars in it, if you have 6 guitars or you have 3 guitars or 10 guitars, You don't need another guitar to the point where you have to pay increased price. Wait, you'll find the deal. There's always a deal. That's the best part about this hobby. It's one of the best hobbies to do, whether you're a working musician, it's not a hobby for you, or you're just doing it at home because this is something you enjoy. You can find a deal. I promise you, the deals are always out there. So the reason I tell you that is when we talk about inflation, I don't want to stir, kick the beehive and everybody goes, oh man, Phil said the price is going up. I better buy it today. What I'm telling you is prices are going up. Keep that in mind. But also, that just means you have to work a little harder to find a deal. But you'll find them. You'll find them all the time. It's never end of the deals. Because here's why. This is an opinion. Now, that was all my opinion too, but this is definitely an opinion. I still believe and have always believed that this industry still makes way more stuff than the market can handle. I don't know why it does it, but it does it. Even the video game industry seems to understand the concept of, keeping stuff back and driving prices up. But in this industry, it's definitely ship those guitars, ship those amps. They make so much stuff that they will always make it to where it's easy for anyone to get a deal till it changes, and it hasn't changed yet. So there you go. The next question is an interesting one. This one was, why does it seem like people posting on Craigslist do not want to sell anything? I apologize for the laughter, but when you read something like that, I think hopefully a couple of you laugh like, oh, yep. Here's what's interesting about that. This is a question that's come up a couple times over the years in different iterations of the Craigslist. And I've said things like, well, part of the problem with Craigslist is it's free to post, which is so is Reverb and stuff. But the problem sometimes with free postings is that, you're going to have people out there going, hey, I guess if some idiot's going to pay me 10 grand for this guitar, I'm going to post it. You know what I mean? I have a guitar and you can buy it anywhere new for $600, but I want to post it for $750 and see what kind of idiot does it. I don't think that's a big part of that, but I think there's a little bit out there. But what's interesting about this question is it always brings up this other thing that I notice on Craigslist. And I have this, maybe this will help some of you with understanding the Craigslist ads. It's not just the prices on Craigslist that sometimes are crazy to me, the asking prices. Sometimes the ads themselves are crazy. And I think this, I really believe this in my heart of hearts, soul of souls, I believe this. It's because all of the weird people that used to write all the band ads in the guitar stores, they grew up, they got older, and then now they sell their crap on Craigslist. Here's why. You ever notice that the ads on Craigslist and those crazy old wanted drummer, wanted guitar player, band posters, all kind of have the same like literature in them, kind of same verbiage. For instance, like remember the old band ads, like looking for guitar player, must have pro gear, transportation, talent, the look, my favorite. And it'll say no flakes, no drugs. Like if somebody read that and went, oh man, but I'm flaky and I take a lot of drugs. I won't even audition. Right? Like by posting that, somebody's going to go, oh man, I have transportation. I have good gear. I can play. I didn't know they didn't want flakes though. I'm kind of flaky. It's kind of the same person writing the Craigslist ads now. $500 firm. Don't eat, no lowballers, no scammers. Don't even contact me. Don't need to sell it. Here's the thing about this. This is why I say it's the same person. Not because of those weird statements. There's nothing wrong with telling, being forthcoming and saying, hey, look, I know people out there scamming. Don't even try it on me. Nothing with putting a little warning out. The funny thing about this is there's a secret in sales that these people are apparently not aware of when it comes to their band and apparently their used goods that they now sell, probably because their band didn't work out. They never got that guitar player. And so therefore they quit the band and now selling the guitar on Craigslist. But how you sell is you actually highlight the positives. So if you're going to have a band poster, explain like plays out 3 times a week, have small paying gigs lined up. Love this kind of music, right? You highlight all of the things you are. And then technically, if you're doing the right things, a lot of the flakes won't come calling because they're looking for something else. Same thing with your Craigslist ads. I always find it funny. Like I love it when every time I read price firm, don't need to sell, no scammers, no low ballers. There's four sentences of what you need to be the customer. But the description is strat. like, okay. what kind of strat? Like no information of the product, just information about who, if you're the buyer, you should or should not be. So to answer the question, why does it seem like people posting on Craigslist don't want to sell anything? I think it's because, I think that's because, like I said, a lot of people just don't know how to sell anything. Seems like an easy skill, like anybody can pick up. Apparently not. So there's your tidbit. If you're really sucky, or if you're one of those people that I'm talking about today, if you find that in yourself, that you kind of write those kind of ads, don't get mad. Don't unsubscribe and go away forever. Take my advice, or put your advice down in the comments about why, not so much I'm wrong, that's okay too, but why you think you have a better solution than me. That's how we get along. Like I said, we're all just people trying to love music. That's my appeal to the trolls. Never works. All right. So anyways, okay. Let me hit some super chats, and then I'll bounce around a little bit, and that way it gives me a water break. Okay, we have Greg. Greg says, hey, Phil, really enjoyed the 10 lists and the extra content in general. Thank you. Thank you. You know, what I learned from that from myself was I don't review a lot of stuff. I was like, I got 780 videos. Holy crap. Well, obviously 224 of them are podcasts. So take that math out. That puts me in the 500s. But what you then realize is that 60% of those 500 videos that I've made are 5 Things videos, Sharp Max videos, tech tip videos. I mean, just everything under the sun. How to use a noise gate, how to use an effects loop. I really perceive myself as more of a gear review channel, and obviously I'm not. I was actually curious after looking at making these list videos and looking at my own videos. I went on a lot of other little channels. I say little, but a little like younger channels. I mean, I should call them younger instead of little. Like their channel's not as old as my channel. And man, they have way more reviews than me already. Way. So I have no idea. So I had no idea. I was like, wow, I thought I reviewed a lot of stuff, but I guess not. But yes, I love those kind of videos. I love that. Why? Because I figure it's good entertainment. One, you either think like me a little bit, happens, or you can relate to me a little bit, and it's nice camaraderie. You know, you're like, oh man, I make those same stupid mistakes like Phil, and then therefore you feel maybe better about yourself, or you think, what an idiot, and then you glad you're right. Either way, it's entertainment. It's entertainment. That's the name of the game. How do I talk about guitars and make it fun or interesting, and hopefully both? Litface says, hey, Phil, thanks for the string spacing answer last week. It was perfect. So no wrong answers, only feel difference. Solid brass strap bridge coming. So Litface talked about that company, and about that company makes bridges. And Litface reached out to me this week and said he talked to that company and they want to send me a couple bridges and maybe do a giveaway. Litface, I have to say, I am 90% sure now reading your comment that I responded to your email and never shipped. I never shipped it. I never sent it. So I will make sure I go back in it this afternoon or tomorrow morning and send it to you. I sometimes it's in the drafts. You know how that happens, right? I'm sure it happens to you guys. I start responding and then halfway through it or something happens and I don't, and it stays in the drafts. Because I know I was responding with, yes, it sounds like a great idea, but I only want to get one bridge because I need to put it in something. And I was thinking upgrading the Affinity Squire would be cool with one of his bridges. And then that way I can do a video with his bridge and you guys could check out the bridge and then we could do a giveaway with it or something. Happy Go Lucky says, hey, Phil, just got a great deal on a used Cordoba made in Spain flamenco guitar. That is a great guitar. Cordoba makes fantastic guitars. Cordoba makes fantastic guitars. The action seems high due to the Fishman pickup under the saddle. Thoughts on your experience with flamenco setups? Sure. It's a little tough to make them super low because you don't want those strings to rattle. But if it's high, you can definitely lower it. It's most of it's going to be, and like I said, I'm assuming that it doesn't have a truss rod because it's usually, if it's made in Spain, it's going to be probably more traditional, not have the truss rod. I could be wrong. I don't know every model of guitar. But that's my guess. If it doesn't have the truss rod, definitely there's nothing you can do there for the most part. But my guess is no matter what, it's probably the bridges, like you said, a little high because they just do that. It's very common for acoustic manufacturers, especially classical manufacturers, to ship a guitar with a bridge not sanded down so that you could take the bridge down. So in that case, you just have to sand that bridge down, and that's it. And that's it. There's slow and steady wins the race. Take a little material off and lower it. The other thing you definitely might find out is sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes there's shims either above the saddle, the transducer pickup between that and the bridge, or the bridge saddle, or it's underneath this, the transducer pickup. So hopefully you don't even have to sand it. There'll just be shims in there. Charlie says, hey, Phil, just wanted to say thank you for the content and the incredible community you've brought together here. All the love from Illinois. Well, thank you so much for the kind thing. And you're in my favorite place, Illinois. When I say favorite, I mean my favorite movie of all time is The Blues Brothers. It's my favorite movie of all times. In fact, my buddy Ralph, who you've seen on the channel a couple of times here and there, we don't agree on much. We've been good friends for over 20 years, and we're good friends, but we don't have the same interests a lot of times. But one thing we do have in common is we both, Blues Brothers is both our favorite movie of all time. So, I love Illinois, but I hate Illinois Nazis. Dan Brown says, what guitar and pedal do you think had a bunch of hype and underdelivered or was just plain awful? You know, this question is hard and not for the reason that you guys probably would think. For instance, you know, oh no, he doesn't want to say what pedal sucks because then the company, right? Which obviously I think I've proven my opinions are my own. But that being said, the problem with gear today, pedals, amps, and stuff is that it's so good, not that it's so bad. It's so weird to me. It's so hard to hit stuff for being bad. Trust me, there's bad stuff, but it is few and far between. So is there a pedal so let me go back to the question. Is there a pedal, because I think he was mostly focusing on pedals, right? Hype underdelivered was, yeah, he said pedal. Oh, he said or guitar. Pedal or guitar that was hype. Well, we know hype is different. So basically what I'm trying to say is there's a difference between being awful, plain awful, and hype. I think there's a lot of products that get hyped, but not that they're awful, they're just getting hyped. Let me try to think one. Let me do a pedal in my head. Let's see what I'm trying to think of a pedal that was sent to me by a company that I was just like, oh, this is not as great as everybody said. And as I look around, sometimes it's hard because I don't have it in front of me. Trying to think of a pedal the only one that comes to mind kind of sucks, but it's the truth, is the pedal I didn't dig at all was the Paul Gilbert pedal from JHS Pedals. I love the way it looked. Every video was fantastic. I tried it and I just did not dig it. It's weird. And you hear the pain in my voice. It's because I love Paul Gilbert. It was like, so it's not that it was hyped. It was just, for me, it was hyped. It was like, man, I really want this pedal because I love the way it looked and I love Paul Gilbert. It's going to be a great pedal. And it was just a weird pedal for me. For some reason, I couldn't find a tone that I could use. Everything was very fuzz-driven sound, which I know that's part of the thing. It just wasn't a thing. Brian McKinsey said Lightning Boy. The Lightning Boy pedal, it wasn't hyped, though. You know what I mean? It was no one knew that brand. I did not like that pedal, but it wasn't a hyped pedal. Like, again, no one knew that brand. Trying to think what else. There's got to be a pedal. See, the thing that's tough for me is, for some of you that watch this channel pretty consistently, I'm not invited to those games. What I mean by games like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, right? I don't get the reindeer games. I don't get invited. Very few times am I one of the channels that gets the new thing, like the new Boss metal, whatever, heavy metal pedal. Like, Boss has never sent me a pedal. In fact, think of this. I can name all the companies right now. JHS, Boss, I don't see it. Earthquaker, you name them. I can name 20 pedal companies right now. They've never sent me a pedal in any way, shape, or form. So, like, I'm not on, so I don't have those experiences, is what I'm trying to say. Most of the stuff that I get on this channel is literally because I pursued it, because I was interested in it. So either I bought it or I got the company to send it to me because, again, I was interested in the pedal and I wanted to get my hands on it. Or, like I said, very few times. Actually, like, think about this, like Robert Keeley pedals. He sent me a couple pedals, but it's because me and Robert had a nice conversation. He's just a good dude, and he didn't expect anything in return. He was just, I don't hate to say this. So, Keeley sent me gifts. That's actually different than when companies either pay you or send you product as an exchange of making a video. Those were gifts. Robert sent me like 5 or 6 pedals as like a, hey man, it was just, we had a really cool conversation about something. And then he's like, I'd like to send you some pedals. And I was like, all right, well, I use a bunch of pedals. So I'm not on those lists, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, like a lot of channels, I'd like to be on a lot of those lists because 1, it gives me more content. 2, it lets me understand some things. But most of the time, I'm just not on those. I can't think of anything. Guitar-wise, I have no idea. I'm trying to think of a guitar I just really didn't dig. And I don't know. Like I said, it's a great question. It's probably a question that if it was sent to me and I could take time to actually think about it, I could probably give you a great answer. But off the cuff, I'm, just shooting off the hip, it's hard to come up with something. If any of you guys put in the comments that something maybe triggers me, I'll kind of hit it. Lawrence says Phil is on the LPD gift list. Yeah, of course. Lawrence is giving me pedals too. Like I said, but same concept. Me and Lawrence are friends, and it's a different kind of thing. The Acoustasonic, you guys were talking about. See, Acoustasonic. Fender didn't send me one. Like I said, I'm not on those lists. Fender sent me, like I can tell you right now, Gibson's never sent me any product. Epiphone sent me one guitar, which was the Lizzie Hale, and that was a request I did with Sweetwater. I sent a request to a couple manufacturers last year. Somebody who worked at Sweetwater doesn't work there anymore, but their idea was, it was Women's History Month, and they said, wouldn't it be cool if there were some guitars for Women's History Month? And then for some reason, Sweetwater didn't do it, probably logistics-wise, because it was in the middle of COVID, if you guys remember. And then I thought, oh, that is a great idea. Why don't I do that? And I did that. I'm telling you guys now, in those videos, I never said that's what it was for, but that's what it was. I was doing it. So I did the Yvette Young guitar. I did the Lizzie Hale. I was like, you know what? I looked on my channel and I only reviewed one guitar, which was the St. Vincent. And I was like, yeah, let's get some of these guitars on here. So Epiphone was nice enough to send one out. That's the only time Epiphone's sent anything. Fender's sent me a Squire once and a Made in Mexico Strat. And the Made in Mexico Strat, when I got it, I took it apart and compared it to the old one. And I don't know if that was good or bad, but I could tell you that was the last, and that was years ago. That was like 3 years ago probably. That was the last time Fender ever worked with the channel, which is usually the common thread. Somebody sends me something, I do something with it, and then it's like all of a sudden you never hear from them again, and they don't really answer your emails. You take stuff apart, they don't seem to like it. But anyways, the reason I say that is because a lot of times, like I said, the Acoustasonic stuff, I don't get my hands on that kind of stuff. Simon says, you're too honest. It's not, look, I appreciate all that stuff. That's not what this is about. It's not that people are dishonest. That's a weird way of looking at things. It's very narrow way of looking at things. So this channel is honest and this channel is dishonest. It's realistically, think about it this way. It's if a company sends a product out, if you were the company, what would you want? Would you want a video where you don't have to be dishonest? There's nothing dishonest about opening a guitar, playing it, and going, hey, it's pretty good. That's essentially what I do too. The only difference is like some other channels, there's a few channels like mine that do this too. We kind of dive into them a little bit, and it's not that companies are mad at me or they hate me, or sometimes, but not most times. It's just, why would they send a guitar out for that? You know what I mean? They don't see the benefit. You got to understand. I really believe this. It's nice to say. It's nice to say that companies somehow don't want these kind of content, and they're against it. I don't think they're against it. I just don't think they see the value in it, so they're not going to participate in it. A. Harris says, Daryl Braun takes them apart all the time. He does. Like I said, there's a bunch of channels. The difference, though, you have to understand, it's, again, everybody's got a different technique. There's things that channels are looking at that are the triggers. It's not taking a guitar apart. Look, taking a guitar apart doesn't mean anything. Showing you the finish on a guitar is not bad or good. It's when you describe or go into detail about certain things the way they're done. It's, like I said, some companies shy away from that. Okay, I'm just reading stuff. I'm just trying to see if you guys are anything to add to this. Aaron Short's in the house. Aaron Short Music. He says, I love the Acoustasonic for solo looping shows. Yeah, I've played one just briefly and it was fine. My only thing about the Acoustasonic, which is why it's probably great they didn't send me one, was the only thing I would really care about with that guitar is not if it's good or bad. Is it twice as good as the Godin A6? The Godin A6 is like $1,000, and it doesn't mean the Acoustasonic's bad. You know what I mean? It just, a lot of times when I get gear, this is why if you were a vendor, would you want that video? Hey everyone, you can get this for $1,000, you get this for $2,000. You might buy an Acoustasonic. I don't know, but I don't know. The good news is this: if it's really interesting, we get it on the channel some other way. So, Sean says they don't like how you rub the pantyhose on the guitars. Yeah, what's funny? I know Sean because he's always going for the joke. You're going for the joke? That's not a joke. That's not a joke. It's been very clear and explained to me in very detail. And again, I don't have to tell you guys the stories. Here's the deal. If you see, here is all you need to know for you diehards. I assume if you're listening to the podcast, you're a diehard, right? You dig this on some other level than just, the people that just click on a video to see that video once. Here's the deal. If you see me review a guitar and that video does well and you never see that brand on this channel again, that was their choice, not mine. They won't do it. They won't do it again. That's sad to say, but I don't know of any. I feel pretty confident saying that statement. I have not seen, hey, look, say what you want about Paul Reed Smith guitars, good or bad. You like them, you hate them. They have literally, I have shown, like a flaw in their amp. I've shown stuff, and they'll continue to send product. They do. I applaud that because there's companies that literally send a product, and I did that thing and I rubbed the nylon on there, and then literally that is never happening again. So, Aaron says, hey Phil, what's your shirt size? I want to send you a sound hole sniffer shirt. Aaron, just, it's 2XL or XL. It depends on the shirt. I can fit XL size. 2XL is like guaranteed. You know what I mean? Because if an XL ride's a little tight, it's a little tough for me. But 2XL is always fit. But Aaron, if you email me at the PMcKnight7 and I'll get your address and I'll send you a shirt too. We'll send a shirt exchange. There you go. Let's see. And then again, because we're on the subject, we'll hit it. Topher Taylor says they can't handle the truth. He's talking about the companies. And again, this is the thing. That's why I'm reading these comments, not to yes, haha, I'm so truthful. No, it's because, like I said, there's a difference between, look, companies, there's one thing. If I was buying a guitar, if I bought a guitar and I took it apart and I kind of showed you guys stuff and a company outright attacked me or came at me, or that's not handling the truth. There's a difference, sadly enough, between a company sending you a product for you to do a video with and you doing something and them going, it's not that they can't handle the truth. They're like, why would I pay for this? You see what I'm saying? It's why do they value it? That's the problem. It's trying to explain the value of giving detailed information on guitars. That's the problem. It's not that people are like, oh no, he'll talk about the bad things of the guitar. That doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying. It's some companies just don't understand this platform yet. Which is there's different channels and they bring different things to the table. And if you cross a bunch of them, you'll get something out of it. I don't know. Like I said, kind of like, again, like the last couple of, we're beating this one to a dead horse. So let's go to the next one. But like I said, I always like to hear you guys' thoughts on this stuff. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I was just looking to see if I miss anything. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just trying to jump back and forth. The next one comes from Dan. Dan says, what guitar or pedal? Oh, no, I already did Dan. I'm sorry. This is from Zelko. I don't know. There's a J in there. Maybe it's silent. Zelko says, hi from Croatia. Sold my JCM 2000 DSL 40 for $600 today. So I've treated myself with a few beers. Okay. And to have one on me, hopefully I won't regret the sale. Yeah. I did the regrets video. You guys really seem to want that video. I did that video. It's going over well, which is good. I never know how videos like that go over well. You know what I mean? It's like, what was fun about that is what I wish, how sometimes the things I do here, I think you guys think are glamorous. A lot of YouTube channels, I think you guys think the things are glamorous. Like realistically, on Fridays, I sit here for a couple hours and I read text messages, your guys' texts in the screen. I'm just alone in this room reading texts. And because YouTube tells me there's people here, I think there's people here. And obviously the texts are coming from somewhere. It's fun. I love it. You're my peeps. But I don't know if it's glamorous. And the reason I said it, some of you might not think it's glamorous, but what I'm saying is that kind of like on that video, I wish sometimes people could have a perspective I have doing that video and watching yourself talk about your regretted things. It was very therapeutic in a lot of ways. Like I have to say there was everything in that video I said, I 100% meant, but it was interesting after watching it going, now that I got that out, like, how if you have a problem with somebody and then you finally talk to them and then all of a sudden you feel you got it off the chest and then they kind of said something back and then all of a sudden you're best buds. And some of us are more extreme than that. You ever punched anybody and then they punched you and then now you're best friends? I've had that before. Anyways, your first interaction was a fight and now you're best friends, but that happens. But in this case, it was kind of like therapy. It was like, yeah, I guess I'm okay. I thought I was upset about that or I thought I missed it. But now that I've said I missed it, I think I've let it go. Like I was really good. So it's not a video. It's not worth doing a video over, but I promise what I'll do for you in one of the podcasts is I'll rewatch the 10 pieces of gear that I regret getting rid of. And I'll tell you guys what of those pieces now after watching that video, I still regret. Because there's some I just like, yeah, you know what? Now that I've said it, I kind of feel better. Like, I don't know if it's a regret now. Interesting how it all works. So there you go. Next comment or question came from Derek, who said, love the show. What are all the Gibson options for lighter, thinner Les Paul? Struggle to find them online. Do you lose the Les Paul tone without the weight? Okay, so let's break that down. What I think he's really getting at is all the different weights of Les Pauls, like their weight relieves, the thinner ones like the Les Paul Lights. There is something mystical and magical about freaking Gibson Les Pauls. It is insanely drives me crazy. This is where I'll trigger Tonewood people who don't believe in any of this stuff. That's fine. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just telling you that for some reason, Look, I want to believe there's hype on certain things. We all do. And maybe there is. And maybe I'm placeboed into this. But let me tell you, like when you pick up these really expensive Gibson Les Pauls, these over-the-top custom shop guitars, these old vintage ones, when you pick them up, there's sometimes, man, there's some magic there. Magic meaning it just feels good. It plays great. Is it the best guitar ever? No, but they're slightly better. So yes, when somebody says, oh, weight relief guitars, Les Pauls don't sound as good. Look, I've picked up heavy Les Pauls, and every time the heavy old Les Pauls, older style, in other words, whether they're reissues and made old or they're actual old, they just have a lot of tone, fullness. It's easy to play them, easy to get sound out of them. And I'm aware of that. So basically that's what I'm trying to tell you is that to go to your core of your question, there's these different options in Les Pauls, but what I've decided is that although that's great that you can plug into an amp and get a very, very beautiful tone that's very inspiring. I did a video, this actually connects. I did a video with Warren Hewart. If you guys ever, in fact, if there's a couple videos, maybe that's a list, the 10 videos I think you absolutely need to watch on my channel. And then maybe I'll do, since I'm doing 10 lists, maybe I'll do 10 videos you need to watch on YouTube, from other channels. But the 10 videos on my channel, the ones, there is definitely the Warren Hewart video I did. And man, was amazing in that video. There are very few times that I've interacted with other channels where most of the time when I interact with a channel, I'm like, wow, this is a really good channel, or this is a really cool person. Warren was one of those people that definitely made me think like, man, I should just stop making YouTube. he's just next level stuff. He said this thing that was great. He was talking about, when we were talking about basically high-end gear and quality, and using really good gear versus using, processors or plugins and stuff like that. And what he basically said was, once your creativity's going, keep it going. So anything that makes that process faster is better. And I'm summing it up. Like I said, it won't be as good if you watch that video, what he said. His idea was much better. Look, we've talked about this. I have all these amps. You guys seen this. I have amps and I love playing through amps. There's just something about that. But when I'm actually creating music or when I'm creating stuff and I'm doing stuff, I'll use, like I said, I'll use like a Guitar Rig 5 or 6. I'll use I'll use like my Focusrite. I think I'm under here. Can you see it? Yeah. Something like this versus my normal rig. This isn't, it looks like it's plugged in and lit up. It is, but I'm obviously not connected to this. This is just for my guitar. I plug my guitar into this and it goes right into my software, my plugins and stuff. And I don't say, I wouldn't say like, oh, my plugin Marshall is as good as my real Marshall. It's not to me. But I can move so quickly. I can edit, I can record, I can get an idea in my head and onto the computer and record it. So there is some truth to that. That reason that all the weirdness ties into this Les Paul thing is, look, if you ask me if this non-relieved custom shop Les Paul sounds and plays better, I don't know what plays, but definitely sounds better. Yes. But that's not the only thing to factor in. Tone is important. But functionality is also important too. So to me, having something that's comfortable that I like to play, I'll pick it up and I'll play more. I get very lucky I get to do this YouTube gig. And I say that all the time because of the fact that, I work on guitars and then I'm doing this YouTube gig. I'm around guitars all day. Very lucky. As much as I'm around them, sometimes I con myself. I tell myself, oh, I'm playing guitar. And then I'll go, wow, I'm not playing guitar. I was working on a guitar and then I was reviewing a guitar. And so like anyone else, I have to find the time to play. And I more so as my journey is not so much about chasing tone personally for the YouTube channel. It's about sharing things about tone and stuff. It's really about playing music. So I love stuff that helps you play more than stuff that makes you sound really good. That's just my personal thing. So to answer your question, I took a very long road to get to the answer, which is, look, yes, is there a difference in the tones of these different Les Pauls? Absolutely. But I know myself, I'll pick up that Les Paul Lite every time. Look, the Les Paul Lite is right there. My Gibson R9 is not. In fact, it's in the case right now. It's not being used. I will tell you honestly, my Gibson R9, for some reason, I think it sounds a little better than the Lite. Maybe plays a little better, but again, like I said, that's that's discretionary. It's mostly about the tone. But that Les Paul Lite feels great. Picks up. It's light. Physically, it's not heavy. It's thinner. It feels comfortable when it's sitting in the lap, which is where I play. I play sitting down most of the time. And, there you go. I hope that helps with your answer. So like I said, do you really have to, I guess my whole way of explaining this is don't worry about that. Find what you need to make music. That's the easiest thing to answer every day. What do you need to make music? And not in the basics of like all is what the base of what you need. What do you need to inspire you, to make you happy, to make you play, to make you enjoy music? For some reason, I like comfortable guitars. That's a thing for me. Like, let me put it this way. If you were to argue how amazing a tube amp is versus a plug-in software, and then argue a comfortable guitar versus, a great sounding guitar, I would pick a comfortable guitar in a plug-in before I'd pick a great sounding guitar in a tube amp. Does it make sense? I still love both, but they have different functions for me. And then Christy, great question. It says, anyone know a guitar under 7 pounds? I wanted to answer that question because guitars aren't a certain weight. In other words, a type of brand or a type of guitar. So for instance, like I could pick any guitar, a Fender Stratocaster, a Fender Telecaster, a Gibson SG. I could, we could say a Gretsch guitar. Guitars are made of wood, and by definition of that wood, being wood, they are different weights. I even did, when I did the Firefly video, ties in. When I did the Firefly video, I mentioned in the video that when I sanded the pickup cavity and showed that the guitar was not mahogany. I didn't say it in the video. I really regret that. Videos, sometimes you don't figure it out. It's a hindsight thing, right? You don't figure out what you should have said until after the video's out and you guys are making comments, which is, I didn't say this in that Firefly video, but the reason I even did that test, notice I don't do it to other guitars. I don't sand the side of a Gibson Les Paul to see if it's actually mahogany and maple. I did it because at $189, it just seemed like the price was too good to be a guitar actually made of those woods. No matter where they make it, no matter how they do it, that's, look, I know how they make guitars in all the different price points at this point. Again, not from my experience working guitars or the industry, literally just playing all these guitars. You just figure out what they skimp on, what they can do. It's not magic. It's not a mystery. You can make a guitar dirt cheap that looks great and plays great, but you gotta let a couple things go to the wayside. And one of the things you can do is wood. And what's funny about that video, there's a comment in the video, and whoever put that comment, I'm sorry to call you out on this, but you're very wrong. And the comment I said in the video was, looks like the guitar is basswood or poplar. Now, again, I was looking at a 1 inch by 1 inch square, so I can't confirm anything off that 100%. I can only give you my theory. And my theory was it was basswood or poplar is the body was made out of. And then the guitar was 9 pounds. Somebody said, Phil, you are wrong. Basswood is light and it can't be 9 pounds. Well, obviously it can be. Basswood could be not properly dried and full of moisture. That guitar could be wet as a log in the water. And they could have just literally cut that tree down and made a guitar body out of it. That water gets trapped in there. It's not like what you guys think. Wood doesn't just magically dry like a sponge. You sit it on the counter and then all of a sudden the next morning it's dry. It takes a long time for the moisture to work itself out of the wood. So light pieces of wood like basswood can be very heavy if they're full of moisture. Some guitars are full of a lot of sap. Some are full of a lot of water. So the reason, Christy, I tell you all this is that if you want a guitar under 7 pounds, you can pretty much find any guitar. Any's a little extreme, but let's say, 80% of the guitars that you like, you can find them in that weight. When I did my collection video, that was kind of the whole premise of that video. It wasn't to go like, look at my collection, because you guys can see my collection now, was to talk about this. All of these guitars are within 20% of each other's weight. So my Gibsons that you see behind me, my Kiesels, my Fenders, I'm looking at the brands behind me, my Ibanezes, there's a Charvel, there's a Floyd Rose, there's a Peavey. They're all, if you watch that video, within the same weights because you can find them. So you just have to find a piece of wood that's a little dried out or you have to find a guitar that uses a different type of wood. But you can find them. You can go, and that's like I said, that's what's great about companies like Sweetwater that post all the weights. More companies are starting to do that. Definitely the high-end dealers are starting to do it. But Christy, you can find a guitar under 7 pounds. You just got to kind of look. Sadly enough, when you go on Reverb or AMS or the other online websites, a lot of them don't post the weights. That's where it gets a little tricky. If you're dealing with Reverb and stuff, you can contact the seller directly and say how much, ask how much a guitar weighs. But you can find them. Yeah, you can find a Tele under 7 pounds for sure. You can find a Strat. It's tough. I mean, under 7, it's tough. But what I can tell you is, and this will also help you, the high end of 6 pounds and the low end 7 pounds, you're fine. In other words, if you get a guitar at 7.2 pounds, that's basically 7 pounds. You'll be fine. You won't notice it. It takes a lot once you start messing with guitars. 8 pounds to 7 pounds, you notice it. 6 pounds to 7 pounds, you notice it. But 6.8 to 7.2, those are so close that you won't notice it. So you don't have to be so dead on to it for it to be under 7. The thing I use, and this is going to be definitely a American thing, a gallon of milk's like 8 pounds. So that's kind of what I use as that concept, right? Guitars either fill less than a gallon of milk. That's how, have you ever seen me do it? I've done it on other channels, videos where we're walking around and we're in stores and I pick up a guitar and I'll tell you the weight. That's what I'm doing. I'm picking it up and I'm visualizing a gallon of milk. And I'm like, how much more or less does this fill than a gallon of milk? Because who hasn't picked up a gallon of milk? There you go. For everyone else around the world that doesn't have gallons of milk, I'm sorry. I don't know what the equation of that stuff is. Not just the conversion of weights, but I don't know what the equivalent is because I don't think everybody does a gallon of milk. I think isn't like Canada is like bags of milk, right? I thought that was way smarter, by the way, the way Canada does it. I could be wrong. I've never had a bag of milk. There's your t-shirt. I've never had a bag of milk. So what do I know? Anyways, Andy says, what do you like and dislike about hardtail strats compared to tremolo strats? What do I dislike about hardtail strats? Hardtail strats? The ones that I've played, the majority of the ones I've played, the string tension is very stiff. It depends on the hardtail. The problem with the hardtail strats is that some of them are string through, so the strings go through the furrows of the back. That's much better. And some of them are top loaded. The top loaded ones I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of top loaded stringed guitars. It's not a thing I like. I find that when you top load them, they feel a little different. There's a difference to the tension of how much string after the saddle there is. It's just true. I love it when somebody says, they always say the same thing. They go, yeah, but if you tune a string, let's say E to 440, it's the same amount of tension whether or not it's string through body or if it's mounted to the top. That is true. But what's not true is when you bend it. See, when you bend a string, the tension is varying by how much you bend it. And so what happens when you bend it is just like anything, when you have an extra rope or string or cable beyond a point of tension, like let's say on the saddle, it goes past that and then anchored in. When you bend it, it's how much after that is it pulling and giving. It does change it. The distance actually is what I'm trying to say. The distance of the string changes the feel of it, no matter what the pitch is tuned to or the gauge of string it is. So those are the things I don't like about the hardtail strats when they're top loaded. Other than that, what I like about hardtail strats is they're lighter on average because even though they have a little hunk of wood in the middle of the guitar, that wood is usually less than the hunk of metal or brass in the bridge. A lot of times I don't use a tremolo, so it's kind of nice there. But that's it. I will tell you that for some reason, perceivably, when I play hardtail strats, 'cause I've played a lot over the years, a lot of cool ones from the 70s I've worked on. A lot of players will really try to find. Somebody says A440. I apologize, A440. A lot of players will collect up the hardtail 70s era strats and bring them in, for repair. And I've done a bunch over the years. So putting my hands on so many of them, there's some that are just really, really great. What I notice is they all have a little bit more beefiness to the sound, obviously. So is that because there's more wood in the middle? I don't know. Is that because, they're anchored and not attached to springs. And then, I don't know. There's all kinds of variables there. That's what's tough. On a podcast, it's hard to get into some subjects detailed because, again, I got to do it all in my head. There's nothing to look at or talk about. DWC says, Phil, thanks. I think he's saying thanks. Thanks to your negotiating tips, I was able to score my first and probably only Martin after 35 years of hemming and hawing. I love that saying, hemming and hawing. That's definitely, my mom would say that. Hemming and hawing, and so I say it too. What are you hemming and hawing all over it? I don't think that's a term you use a lot. Like I don't think it's used everywhere a lot around the world. Hemming and hawing, but maybe I'm wrong. Thanks for all you do and do for all of us. Hey, I didn't do anything. Like I said, you had to negotiate it, but congratulations on Martin. That's what's really great. Taylors are great, but Martins to me are like Fenders and Gibsons in the idea that when you get one, it's kind of like you got a piece of history and it kind of feels cool. There's a coolness to that. Look, it's what people don't understand. Somebody will like, oh, why do you need a Les Paul? I can get a different guitar. You can, but there's something, it's an emotional thing. Remember, if you're going to only use Logic, you're missing part of it, I think. But again, everybody's personality is different. Steven did a super chat for no reason. I appreciate that. Alex said, learning how to do a setup, how important is it to have the action mirror the fret radius? Oh, that's a great question. Is it okay to lower the saddles on my Made in Mexico Strat all the way and restart from there if they're all out of whack? Yeah, let me back up. So here's the best way to do this if you're going to do, especially a Stratocaster. I like the bridge radius, especially you're talking about a Made in Mexico Strat. You didn't say vintage, reissue, or anything like that, so I'm assuming we're not talking about a 9.5-inch radius fretboard. 9.5-inch radius fretboard is a sweet radius because it's rounded, not as round as 7.25, but it's okay to still radius it a little bit. Radiusing your fretboard. Your question was how important is it, right? How important is it to mirror the action? It's not important. It just feels great. I like the bridge to be radiused, the string heights of the saddles to all be radiused to the fretboard. However, it's important that your frets are all level to do that because if any of your frets are out of whack, radiusing your fretboard to your neck is going to highlight the problems. The downfall, I should start with the positive. The best part of a good setup is it plays great. The worst part of a good setup is it actually finds all the problems in the guitar. That is the problem. You know what I mean? You do your best. You do your best. When you're setting up a guitar, you set up the guitar and you're like, okay, I think I got it right. And then literally how good you do can create all your problems. So I think the answer is easy for you. Yeah, radius it to your fretboard. And where should you strat? What's the best way to start? You could start with the saddles all the way down if you wanted to do that. I mean, I don't think you have to. I like to set, again, if you watch my videos, I'll set it at like 1.5 or 2 millimeters off the 12th fret on the low E string saddle if I'm doing a Strat. And then that's the starting point for me. And then I kind of figure it out from there. But yeah, I like some general settings and then I kind of start from there and then go and then see where the problems start popping up. It's just, you get into a habit to do it the way you like to do it. Okay, I need to refresh this. And then while refreshing that, I'm going to jump over to the main screen to see what's going on. Duffy 315, you ask a question that I get asked a lot. In fact, I get this question so many times. What are my thoughts on Michael Kelly guitars since Sam Ash bought the company? I think it was Richard Ash. I apologize. I don't think it was Ben. So Sammy Ash owns Sam Ash, or he's one of the owners, of course. And then Richard and Ben are his sons. And I think Richard reached out to me right before the pandemic and said, hey, would you like to review a Michael Kelly? And I came back and said, I have a great idea. Why don't we do a video where I review 3 different videos at 3 different price points and kind of like give everybody, that way I can really get a sense of the brand. The problem is, like I said, sometimes when a company wants to send you one guitar on a brand like that, you're like, that one guitar can be great. Sure, like I've said before, companies can make a guitar play great and send it to me, but you can't hide everything. Something's going to come across. Like, how do they do them? But then COVID happened, and then the guitar boom happened. And I think the problem is they don't have any guitars to send. That just died. Whatever happened with that died. I can try and reach that back out, but I don't think it happened. So to answer your question, what are my thoughts? I literally have never played a Michael Kelly from a Samash. The Samash here had a few. I saw them. I never picked them up and played them. And to be honest with you, when they had them, is the reason I didn't pick them up and play them was I was like, oh, I'm about to do a video of those. And then I was like, oh, I shouldn't try them. You know what I mean? I'll wait to see because I'm going to have, some time to spend with them. And so I have no reference or nothing, but I'd like to do a video with them. So there you go. But I get asked that question a lot. Have I checked them out? What do I think? So I'm hoping it eventually happens. There's a lot of stuff. I think a lot of YouTube channels, especially myself, are thinking that once the guitar, look, you guys, we're all buying so many guitars up. This industry is still booming. They're still playing catch up. As you guys know, Larry is a very kind friend of mine, Larry DiMarzio, and look, I could get some pickups on the channel and do some cool videos. He's 6 month backlogged. I can't ask him for pickups. Hey, why don't you send me some pickups and I'll do some videos? Even though you can't supply your customers with pickups, it's tough. It's tough right now to get products because the fact that it's booming and they don't really need promotion. So there you go. It's one of the downfalls. But it's great. I guess the industry is doing great. It's great. And for some reason, the channels are doing great. So it's all working, I guess. Okay, I'm just looking at. Lover's Trash. I love the name. So a lot of people are asking when their Kiesels is done. If it helps, mine got done. I'm just reading his. Got mine last week, and I ordered it in March. So we're gonna say March, April, May, June, July. So 4 months. That sounds about right. I'm pretty sure. So I think I told you guys this. When I ordered mine, it was in February. And then I like I said, you have to look the video now. I can probably look myself. Is it up? Can I get to it? I was going to say, I think mine was 3 to 4 months. And I think they were trying to, as a favor, fast track mine a little bit, just to like push it a little bit. Because obviously, they knew I was going to make a video and that would get them some excitement on that. But even then, so yeah, I think it's, takes a little while, that's for sure. B-Side Studio says, hey, Phil, do you have any of your pickups up for sale right now? I don't think so. You'd think I would know. I don't ship them. My wife ships them. The process is very small. One man, one gal operation. I literally get up and wind them and then I test them because I have to, there's processes to it. And then when they're ready, they hang on a rack because they get wax potted, of course. They got to hang on a rack. And then my wife takes them and puts them in the boxes and she makes the boxes for me. And then she brings me the boxes when they're ready to ship so I can write the message with the person. I write a little message to every person and then she takes them back and then they go out. And yes, and like I said, that is, but like I said, no worries. If you guys really are interested in getting us out of the pickups I make and stuff, I can promise you this: they'll always be available. Like I said, I'm at a pace where I don't think I'm not promoting, so it's like you guys know, and that's great. You guys know, so you guys are buying them, and I appreciate that. And of course, I'm getting some repeat customers, and of course, I already have customers that I do the repairs and they wanted them and stuff. But like I said, you notice I don't do any videos like, hey, I'm not promoting because again, it's me. I'm the only one making them. There's nobody else making the pickups. People have asked me why don't I get my kids or helpers and stuff. Like I said, it will be me until there's a line of ones that are not made by me, and then we'll have 2 price levels, and then I'll just do the ones by hand, and then we'll have some mass-produced ones if we get to that point, which, you never know. And then I know Lawrence, their guys are talking about a super chat. Look, I still have super chats, but I'll hit it right now just because, It'll make everybody feel a little better. TJ Nugent did too. Let me get, like I said, I kind of just go back and forth. I appreciate the super chats. Like I said, it supports the channel, and you guys have great questions. But like I said, I try to bounce back and forth. I try to like look at the super chats as bonus. The shows without super chats usually go about an hour, if you guys remember back in the day, and so they extend the show by almost another hour because I try to get to those. But knowing I have questions in queue actually makes it easier for me to spend time talking about stuff. So I'm not worried about finding the right question. This one comes from Spencer, who says, Phil, I just got a PRS SE 245 and I'm in love with everything but the pickups. Any favorites for these? Sure. I really think the Thornbuckers sound great in those guitars. I almost couldn't remember the name. If you guys noticed, when I did the Fortitude video, I said I like the Fortitudes more than the Thornbuckers. The Fortitudes and the Thornbuckers, they both have this magic thing that they both do that I like. But one of the things I will tell you for sure about those two pickups is the Thornbuckers are like the bright, chimey overtones, and the Fortitudes are a little fuller mid-range chime. And so if your guitar is bright, the Fortitudes will make it sound, I think, like the Thornbuckers, but without adding to the highs. And if you have a guitar like, to me, like the SE245, a little bit on the darker side, I think the Thornbuckers are great for that. And then those are expensive pickups, obviously the Thornbuckers. So if you don't want to spend that kind of money, I can tell you that if you just go with some like really nice Alnico 4 type lower output pickups, you'll get, again, kind of like what my advice I gave a while ago about the pedals. Pickups are a little bit of anatomy. You know what I mean? You can just find pickups that use the same materials. There's always going to be a difference to the pickups. I thought I had, what's funny? I would have swore. Oh, it's on my phone. Okay, hold on a second. I did an early question. Okay, hold on. I did a question. When I was getting ready for the show, I was screenshotting your guys' questions, and because I was going to try to do it on my phone. Anyways, I grabbed this question. I almost forgot about it, and so I'm really happy that you asked me, Spencer, because this brings me to JJ Music. This was a really good question. I like this question. JJ Music said, "Hey Phil, what important brand?" Okay, so there's two questions. This is one I like too. Why does I say important? I think he means import. What import brand would you say gets as close to the American counterparts like PRS and Core and SE Music Man? So the core of this question is, who does the best import versions? I think that's what he's getting at. Who does the best import versions of their guitars? And that kind of tied me into this SE thing. And that was a great question. The cop-out answer is the Made in Mexico Fender guitars, because they're pretty much dead on to the American guitars. They're literally almost the same. They're 90% there. And that's really you could argue that to death. But realistically, I really believe they're like 90% there, if not, almost all the way there. But I was trying to think of somebody like an Asian import guitar that's close to its counterparts. And there actually used to be in the bass market, Lakeland was actually when I think of watch out what you do. Lakeland is a bass. I know a lot of guitar players won't have connections, but Lakeland import basses were so good, you couldn't tell them apart from the USA made ones. And it was really problematic for them because even I would pick them up and I'd be like, wow. And I remember this, and I picked up one in the store. I was playing it. I remember I looked up going, how much is this? And I think they said like $6.99. I go, what? Aren't they? And it was the import. I didn't know. So as a guitar import, like who makes a great import? Epiphone gets pretty close to Gibson, but it's still not there. It's not the same, obviously they're not using the same stuff. But like I said, I know I did the cop-out Fender. I'm trying to think of an answer. I don't have one, but I'm really curious. Let me go back to the main screen, see if you guys are saying. Who do you guys think? Yeah, Lakeland made great gear. Let's see. Oh, Gretsch Electromatics. Yeah, those are very good. I would agree with that statement as well. Thank you, Scott. That's another brand. I'm sorry. That was Dougal Dog. Dougal Dog. Yes, I would say, yeah. But they don't make, but see, this is tough. Gretsch, to me, when you're comparing the import Gretches, import like made in China, made in Korea Gretches, you're comparing them really to the made in Japan Gretches. I think the question, the heart of it was like, what made in USA guitars, what import versions do that? You know who did a really good version of their American guitars was Sir. I don't know if you guys know, a lot of you don't know. Sir had an import line of guitars for a short time, and they were really good. Let's see. See if I can pull one up and find for you. It was under a different name. And hold on. And now I have all I'm trying to find one online. Hold on a second. Does anyone remember that when Sir had an import line of guitars for a minute? And they were really good. But they used a different brand name for them. That's what I'm trying to find. I don't want to take up too much time doing this. It's a lot of dead air for this, and if I don't find it today, we'll come back next week and I'll bring it up. Yeah, so maybe that's it. Hold on. I don't think this is, but I'm going to try and see if I can, because I'm trying to find one to show you. Yep, I think I found one. Maybe not. See, I said, okay, I can't find one. But those were really good. That's how I know about it. I worked on one, and I remember like I didn't know what it was, and somebody was like, Rasmus. Thank you, Eric. Let's see if that pulls it up. And the thing about Rasmus was they were building them overseas, and then they would come to California where the Sir was, and then they would plec them in the American factory. And now I just want to show you one and see if we can find one. Ta-da! There you go. So this is a Rasmus guitar. They were really good. Some argue too good. Now I don't know the full details of why Rasmus was dissolved out from Sir. The thing I heard was not like, oh, they were so good they're going to put Sir out of business. That's not what I heard. What I heard from people who I guess had talked to John Sir about this was that even though they were import guitars, by the time he did the plec here in the U.S. and did all the upgrade stuff, they basically weren't that, it wasn't very profitable for him. So, but yeah, that's the brand I think of that was like, wow. They were really good because I remember I was blown away when I was like, oh, what is this? This is fantastic. And they're like, oh, it's an import, Sir. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay, so then the next one, and by the way, we're getting to TJ. Don't worry. We have, next one is from Hans Victor. Hans Victor says, can't stop playing my Schecter PT Fastback. I used to have a PT Fastback, which stands for Pete Townsend Fastback. Great guitar. I did a review of it, and it was fantastic. And I feel bad ignoring my other expensive guitars. Should I just sell them? No. Look, just because a guitar is heavily in rotation doesn't mean you should get rid of your guitars. If you watch my regrets video, I wouldn't do it. Wait it out. My wife, I kind of feel bad. She didn't say anything. I made her watch part of the regrets video. She didn't say anything, but when she was watching it, it kind of like I palmed my own forehead when I said, oh man, I forgot. My wife has a policy that if I decide to get rid of something, she likes a cooling off period on that. So she has asked me over the years that she has asked me that if I, want to get rid of a guitar, she's asked me to wait a few days as a cooling off period to see, you know what I mean? And that I forgot to mention that in that video that I have and so even with the cooling off period, all those regrets, we're still with the cooling off period. Thomas says, I just bought a Les Paul Standard 60s. I'm getting a sitar buzz on the high E B strings. Okay. I know it's not fret buzz, so it's coming from the nut or saddle. How can I test if it's the nut or the saddle problem? Sure. Well, one of the things you can do is you can, well, here's the deal. It's 80%. I can almost say 90, but 80% chance it's the nut anyways. The nut slots have to be cut perfect or they're going to create that problem. It is very common. There's small chance that maybe the brake angle is either too extreme on the bridge or and it's kind of resting on the bridge. That could be a problem. But in my experience, usually if you're having that sitar effect, it's the nut, and the nut is the problem. What I do is one of two things to test it. This is how I test it. One, I loosen the string just a little bit, like so let's say start with the E string, just take one. I can loosen it and then put it up on top. Be careful not to chip the nut, but take it out of the slot and put it on top of the nut. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So let's say you have your E slot, and in between your B and E slot grooves, I'm going to put it up just in between those two slots on the actual nut. Of course, the action will be super high, but it doesn't matter. Put it on there, a little bit of tension, just a little bit, and then pluck it to see if it goes away. And that'll isolate it and if it goes away, you're like, well, it was definitely that nut slot. If you know it's not kissing the first fret and you know what I mean, it's going to tell you that. The other thing you can do is take a small piece of paper or cardboard, like from a business card, cut it off and stick it in that nut slot and put it in there and see if that solves it. But my guess is it's going to be your nut slots. So I just do that because that's going to be it. So there, start there. One Can Dan says, greetings from an 11 p.m. Scotland. Woohoo, 11 p.m. That's my bedtime. Wired up my first coil split on a JB and Jazz. So he's talking about Seymour Duncan pickups. Set on my Les Paul since I've been told that series parallel is better sounding option. Any thoughts? So he did a coil splits series parallel. Look, it's up to you. I'm not into that sound. That's not a sound I like. I usually spend all my time getting rid of that sound, although I do it all the time for customers. So the series parallel concept is interesting. I personally feel like that sound is really great, probably live, because it has a weird tone. Like I said, I call it the nasal tone. Country players definitely like it. Certain players like it. It's a cocked wah, kind of slight cocked wah sound. Cocked wah. So I can't wait to see what they decide that I'm saying when they do the translation. Anyways, and so it's not my thing. So a lot of players like it. So I can't recommend something I'm not into, but it's fine. I'd rather have a coil split and it's just for me. That sound is great. And by the way, maybe it's a talent thing too, because I find the players that can really play, when they play that series parallel stuff, it sounds fantastic. When I play it, like I said, it sounds like I got some half-ass wah on or a nasal tone. And other than like literally, I don't know. Other than when I'm playing and I need to jump out in front of the sound, it doesn't do anything for me. Jeff Parker says, hey, Phil, I got an Ibanez RG6 PKAG. Yes, you have a new license plate. Says 3 times fast. Say that 3 times. I can't say 3 times fast. Love this. Has become my new number 1 humbucker single EMGs. So no volume loss from single coils. Went looking for more HSS and rare. No PRS ESP ejector, 7-string Y. So I think what he's saying is, how come no one else is using that besides the Ibanez guys? Look, I don't know this to be true with guitars and manufacturers. I'm sure most guitar manufacturers are picking pickups and things that just sound good and they like them. I'm sure there's a little of that going on, but there's also like the what's in, you know what I mean? Look, it's no different than anything else, right? The in thing, right? So you go get a car and they use a Bose stereo system or Harman Kardon. Is it because it's good systems, or is it because that's a buzzword that people know and they go, oh, this car has a Harman Kardon in it? You know what I mean? And I think sometimes guitar manufacturers use a little bit of that too. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is EMG is not the in brand of pickups. We know it's Fishman. Look, to me, and this is someone who's making pickups. I can tell you this. To me, DiMarzio, Seymour Duncan, EMG, I can put that on all my guitars. Never want for anything ever again with those brands. But, you have the new guys now. You have Bare Knuckle, and you have Lindy Fralin, and you have Fishman. Fishman is the Fluent stuff, and it's all great too. But I think, like I said, I think it's manufacturers are like, hey, let's put Fishmans in it. So I think that's your core question: why they don't have those pickups in there? It's because everybody's going to Fishmans. So I've done a Fishman to EMG comparison. I really like the Fishmans. There was things about the Fishmans I like more than about the EMGs. But like I said, I still like EMGs. They're still good for what I use them for. They're great. Grumpy Mike Guitar says, for the tone jar, and why not? I've got to say it the way that he says it. And the grandkids are here. So since I'm handing out cash, cheers. You're the grandpa. The grandpa hands out cash. When I was a kid, there were 7 of us, cousins. There were 7 kids. And we used to go up the street every day to my grandfather's house and get a Pepsi because he had Pepsis. My grandfather basically he didn't like to eat. If you guys ever had, some of you are like that, but I had a grandfather and he didn't like to eat. He ate like 2 things, and it was like, what is it? A chicken fried steak. And I don't know what the other thing was. I think, but it was something else. It was like that. He would eat those 2 things, and then that's it, and barely he would eat those things. But he liked to smoke cigarettes and drink Pepsi. So we would go to his house and get Pepsi, and he would all give us $1. And I'm so old that $1, if you took it to the corner store, it bought you a 25-cent grab bag and I think a pack of bubble gum, and then you had like 5 cents left over or something. I don't know. The important part of the story was, we didn't know this. We thought our grandpa was great. So Grumpy Mike, I'm just telling you the story. Hopefully grandkids are listening and not listening, depending on how this goes. And we used to think, man, grandpa loves us so much. Every time we go over down to his house, walk down his house, he gave us $1. That's so great. Later, like in our 20s and 30s, we found out that he gave us $1 to go away. He knew that if he gave us $1, we would take it to the corner store and buy candy, and we would just leave. So he didn't give it to us because he loved us, although he did. He gave it to us to go away, because otherwise we would stay around his house and drink his Pepsi and play and make noise. I don't know why I'm telling you that story. So just telling you so you're the grandpa that hands out. I don't know. Actually, you know what I'd love to know? Don't super chat it. You can tell me next week. I like to know, what's the payout now for grandpa? Is it $1? Can you get $1 out to kids now? That doesn't sound like it works. Yeah, you got to hand out 5s or 10s or something, right? I'd hate to see it's 20s or 50s now. I just don't know. I have no idea. I do know this, and I know I'm getting on a sidetrack, but I do know this. My daughter, every time she asks me for money, she asks me for way less than I think she needs. And I always laugh because I'm like, she'll ask for like $5-10. And I'm like, I don't know. What can you buy with that nowadays? So anyways, Music Therapy Laz says, hey, Phil, it was nice to see you on China Mike's 50th birthday show earlier today. It was nice to see China Mike. He's a great channel, good friend, man, great friend. Obviously, to celebrate. Today's his actual birthday. If you guys are fans of the China Guitar Skeptic, CGS. If you're not, you should be. Great channel, man. He is just a lovely person. I don't use the word lovely to describe very many people, except for him. He's a lovely person. So when he asked me this week, he sent me a message, said, hey, can you jump on the channel today? I was like, absolutely. No questions asked. And it's great seeing him. It's just great. Like I said, we did the video. If you guys didn't know, it's on my Phil McKnight 2 channel. It's the bells video where we talk about the bells. What a great time. That's definitely in those videos that, like I said, if you ask me the videos I like that people should watch, I like that video. That is my wife's absolute favorite video, by the way. She told me really, I can tell you right now, she could care less about any one of my videos ever. That video is the only video she likes because it's not really about guitar. It's about other stuff too. But yeah, thank you. Also, thank you for joining and for joining that today and also helping out. Matt Scott says, as a lefty, I'm stuck ordering a guitar online. I'm looking for a nice acoustic. What brand would be best? Trust if you had to buy without seeing it first. Dude, I don't know. You know, when it comes to lefties, I know who I like for lefty electric guitars like Schecter and stuff, but acoustic guitars for lefty? I don't even know. I don't even know who makes lefty acoustics or not. This is one of those things, Matt, where I feel bad. You should really be going to I don't know. I'm trying to think of who, I don't know the answer. Because the problem is that I can tell you what acoustics I like, but I don't even know if those acoustics make left-handed guitars. The sad thing is, like I said, the channel in the blues, he's lefty, so he would be a great channel to ask for that. I just don't know the answer. I'm hoping, it's one of those times where I don't know the answer, but I'm hoping a bunch of you guys will chime in and give the answer. So hopefully you guys will help Matt out because I don't have the answer. Johnny says, it takes a champion management to keep a product afloat, no matter the business, and the end customers pay to the biggest part of it. So Johnny, okay, so it takes champion management. I agree with you so far to keep a product afloat. I agree with that as well, no matter the business. In the end, the customers play to the biggest part of it. Yes, to everything you said, I agree as a core. Yes. Well, I've said this before. I find that so many people, for some reason, focus on the people who don't have the ability to change anything. Management is essentially going to be able to change things. I know it's not just more like, get me your manager, I want to talk to your manager. I'm not talking about that. Policies in companies, attitudes in companies start from the top. It works its ways down. Like I've said, seen this many times over. When you have a bad employee, most likely, sometimes you have rogue employees, but most likely you have bad management. So, and I don't want to discredit that too much because, like I said, I've hired enough bad employees over the years too. There's nothing you can do, There's a great, I love it. Tina Fey, if you guys know the actress Tina Fey, she wrote a book. I think it's called Bossy Pants. It's not a book you think that a lot of people would read. I thought it was a fantastic book, one of my favorite books. But the best part about the whole book is you read the entire book and all you needed to read is one sentence she put. And she said, you can't motivate someone who doesn't give an F. If you notice, I PG'd that time up. And I'm like, yep, that's perfectly said. Can't motivate someone who doesn't give an F. So, what the duck said. Hi, Phil. Would you change the wing tuners on a 93 custom CE22? Or would I leave it alone? Thinking about putting in the phase twos. I hate the wing tuners. Look, there's like 5 people who love the wing tuners. If you guys aren't PRS fans, you won't know what we're talking about right now. Originally, PRS had this thing called the wing tuner. It was horrific. I hate them. So, when they show up and I have to work on them, I'm just like, I sigh. Because it's always so, now they're so rare now as guitars that they're spaced so far out that every time I see one, it's like a year or two has gone by. And then I'm like, crap, I don't even remember how to do this. And I got to rethink it in my head. Hate them. However, what's funny is people love them and people will pay top dollar for them. But would I replace them? Yes. If I had a PRS with those tuners, I would take them off and I would put other tuners on that don't mar up the guitar because to keep the value of the guitar. I'd put them in a baggie, a Ziploc bag, and then if I ever sold off the guitar, I'd put them back on. But yes, that would be what I do. Bradley says, happy Friday. Have a beer or 2 on me. Why not 3? I just added that part. I don't know if it's 3. I will tell you this. I know I'm planning to have a beer tonight because, as you guys wait in suspense, I'm sorry. Because sometimes when I know I'm going to have a beer after the show, what I do is I take my pint glass. I have pint glasses for my beers, and I put them in the freezer. So I can have a nice cold beer. And sometimes when I'm indexing and listening to myself talk after I just talked for 2 hours, sometimes a beer is a nice thing to have. Yes. Yes. Chad says, are Ernie Ball Music Man guitars overpriced and overrated? Really? And, not or. I want one, but they're priced like they're made of gold. They are very good guitars. They're very good. Overpriced is the consumer's decision, your decision to figure out if they're overpriced. And obviously they sell them, so I'm going to say they're not overpriced. Look, overpriced corrects itself, in my opinion. If something is overpriced, it doesn't sell, and then the price comes down or they go out of business. So I'm going to say they're not overpriced because usually, if they couldn't sell them, they would back off. But the second part of your thing, and overrated, I don't think they're overrated at all because I think most players don't even play them. They're definitely not a mainstream instrument. As big as that company is, they're really known for their basses. No, I like the guitars. Look, there are brands, and Ernie Ball is one of them, where I really do like their guitars. Like I really do. I like what I play. I like the company's attitude. I like them. So the real question for you, the real question is always this. This is the really where you want to get to this. Do you have to buy their guitar to have a good guitar? No. That's the trick. That's why the overrated, overpriced thing's tough. If you said, Phil, do I have to buy a Music Man to get a really good guitar? Nope. Not at all. Not even close. If you want one, they're what they cost. And if you can afford one, you should buy one if it makes you happy. Look, this is just to make you happy. Chad, you deserve to be happy. I don't know you, but I'm going to say you deserve to be happy. If it makes you happy to buy a Music Man, there's worse things you can do with your money than buy an American-made quality instrument. By far. But do you have to buy that? No. Question I got, a Lidfay, I think, reached out to me and asked me this. I think he asked me, I think the question he asked me was, he was looking at a Music Man and he said, should I get the Made in USA used one or should I get the Sterling by Music Man with a case thrown in? And I told him, as someone who's played both, I think they're both very good and I stand behind that. But me, I would probably buy the Made in USA one. It's a little bit more quality. It's going to, obviously, like I said, it depends. You know what I mean? It's a tough question. But I don't think they're overrated or overpriced. I think they're expensive. Some things are expensive. Voodoo Fist says, have I still not got the TJ? You're next, TJ. Voodoo Fist says $10 for the tip jar or the tone jar or the tequila jar. No, I'm not a tequila guy. Jar, whatever works. I try to get into whiskeys and bourbons, and I barely get into that. Yes, but tequila is not my drink. I should try it. Oh, no, that's not true. I had Ralph and I months and months ago, maybe 6 months ago, so a while ago, we discovered mojitos, which I think has white tequila in it. And that died really quick death because everywhere we went, no one could make one because they didn't have fresh mint. So there you go for the tequila. So if I could find a place that makes a good mojito that has mint, because apparently when you go places, and apparently in Arizona, mint's just too hard to keep around, I guess. TJ said, Phil, have you played this? I don't know what this is. Serotonin amp? If yes, what are your thoughts? Gracias, amigo. And I just said that like the whitest guy ever. Gracias, amigo. But I have not tried the Serotonin amp, so I don't have thoughts. But I'll tell you what I do. Obviously, as you can hear me clicking, save it. I will check it out online and see what it's all about. And then we'll go from there. John says, would you buy, let's say, an 87 to 93 mid? A lot of questions about me and what I would buy or not buy, but okay, we'll go with it today. 87, 93 model, 4, 5, or 6 Charvel. This is toothpaste logo or Charvel Jackson logo, or get a new ESP E11 made in Japan. Why? Thanks. Look, when it comes to these older 80s guitars, I'm done. I'm burnt out. BC Rich, Jackson, Ibanez. dude, these guitars were not made very well. Okay. And I mean that in a weird way, because some of you guys are going to be like, what? The best playing guitars ever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about quality, quality of components and stuff. They used that, got to think the 80s is like all of a sudden basswood became a thing. And I'll get to the point before you guys start putting in comments. Basswood became a thing. They got cheaper on the paint jobs. They loved to stick paper and everything. So in other words, paper graphics, paper logos. They just didn't hold up. Those guitars don't hold up. They're beat up. They got played because remember, they're the generation of guitar players that went nuts. It wasn't like the 60s and 70s where everybody was playing the rock chords and playing, the pentatonic stuff. I mean, the 80s is when all of a sudden everybody's like playing arpeggios 6 hours. Even the guys who sucked and couldn't do it still put in 20 hours. I want to say 20 hours a day. 10 hours a day playing arpeggios. Look, I've put more time into playing arpeggios than I want to ever admit in my life, and I still can't sweep them or do them, right? Literally failed, just freaking tons of hours of failure for me. And lots of players like me that just couldn't get that going. And maybe it wasn't enough work. But my point is that I've longed for those guitars and I get them, and this is why I'm cautioning you. And every time you get one, oh man, the frets are jacked, the neck is jacked. It's so hard to find good ones that my answer to you is yes, if you find an old 80s, 90s era, did I say era, Charvel with a toothpaste logo or a Jackson. If you find good, if you find ones, if you come across one, buy it. It's a great guitar. But if you can't find one, this is what I'm saying. I sit there and I go online like everybody else and I go, well, here's one. I think I'll get it. And they're jacked up. So yeah, I think I would get the ESP E2 made in Japan. Now, I gave you the why. I will also tell you, though, the sad thing is that, yeah, in 20 years, those 80s, 90s guitars will still continue to go in value. So as a value proposition, they're better. But you're not asking me what's a better investment. And this is something we talk about all the time on this podcast. There's investments, and then there's the guitars you play. There's one and the same, but they are also different. An E2 is not a great investment compared to finding a vintage style 80s, 90s era shred guitar, but I guarantee if you buy an ESP E2, new in box or a used one, lightly used one, when you get it and open it up, it's going to play great. They're great guitars. They're made just as well as they were back then. They're just not worked to death. Like I said, those guitars got played. It's hard to find ones that aren't rough. So unless any of you secretly know where they're all hiding, because let me tell you, when you go, and besides Japan, don't tell me Japan. We all know they're in Japan. So when I say secretly hiding, where we can get them. Buck Flicks says, first time to catch the live show. Hey, congratulations. I thank you for joining. Looking for a budget tube amp with a nice clean sound like a Blues Junior, but am I missing others in the price range? There's a lot of amps in that price range. It's not expensive and it's not inexpensive amp. The Blues Junior is right in the middle seated. Obviously, like we talk about Peavey. Look, the Blues Junior is made in Mexico. It's really good. It's tried and true. For the same price, you can get the Classic 20 by Peavey, which is really good. You could get used, made in the USA Peaveys that are still good. You can get, I'm trying to think of things that are like the vein of the Blues Junior. Supro makes some pretty decent amps, especially if you can pick them up the right models. Used, great prices, good amps. I like the Black Star Studio 10. However, keep in mind, it's different. Even if you get the USA, because they have like a British voiced one and a USA voiced one. I like that better. I like the Super Champs, but again, they're getting hard to find because they stopped making them and then people scooped them all up. There's nothing wrong with the Blues Junior. It's a classic amp. It loves pedals. It's great clean tone. It's a good amp. It's just a good amp. So are you missing out on anything? No, there's other things that are cool, but the Blues Junior is a good amp. Casey Strange says, just bought an inspired by Gibson Epiphone SG custom with Seymour Duncan's Fat Cat P90s. Do you have any experience with the guitar or pickups? Not the guitar, But the pickups, yes. The Fat Cat P90s, absolutely. I did some shootout videos where I compared real P90s, real meaning the shape of P90s, to the humbucker P90s. So I did that video. The Fat Cats are definitely one of the most known P90s out there. They, to me, are very similar to DiMarzio and all the other voiced humbucker-sized pickups. Love them. Great pickups. I mean, I don't know. It's the easy part. Really good. Miguel says, "Hey Phil, I'm on the never-ending hunt for a clone pedal, and you just described half the internet." Says, "Your thoughts on recommendations would be appreciated, and which ones have you tried?" I've tried. I don't want to say I've tried them all because I couldn't even imagine how many there are. I've tried so many, including, like I said, I used to own original Klon. What do I guess the answer I can only give you, which is, again, not a great pedal answer. It's my pedal answer, though. Which Klon clone do I own? Because I only own really one. As you know, Lawrence did an Embers, which is kind of like a Klon thing, but a different voicing. But the Klon that I use is the Archer, the gold one. I don't even know what is different from the silver or the gold. But that's the one I have. The Soul Food was great. The Wampler, what's the damn Wampler called? The Wampler Tumnus, which is the guy from Narnia. I mean, there's a ton of them out there, but I have the Archer. I like it. Some people are way more into it than I am. I like what the Klon does to an amp. See, to me, the Klon is like a tube screamer. This is where I differ from some players. I like the tube screamer. I like the Klon. They both have this thing that I like. I like to pair them with an amp to push an amp into a certain range, or sometimes use them as a light overdrive. And what I've found with the same thing with the tube screamer is we could sit there and tube screamer ourselves to death. I can try 20 of them and you can argue one slightly better than the others. But really what it came down to it was I just have the Ibanez one. Right? I have the TS9, and then instead of the TS808, I have the Maxon version. I have one of each, but I really use the TS9. And then same thing with the Klon. I use the Archer and just plug it in the amp. I'm just looking for the thing to do the thing it does, which is push my amp over a little bit. To me, I like the mids of the Klon style, which is the Archer pedal. But in that sense, just for the record, I think the main reason I'm talking this way and this is I don't use either one of those to push my amps. I use the overrated special or like the Zen drive to push it. That's what I use to push the amp. I don't know why. That's just what I use. But I like I said, I'm just not. What was it? Tyler Larson did a video where he bought a $5,000 Klon. I didn't watch the video. I should have. I got the clickbait thing that everybody got. Like, I bought a $5,000 pedal, and all I could think about was I didn't even watch the video. So this is why I could be wrong. That's why I'm saying, because I didn't watch the video. I could be wrong, but I know Tyler, and I don't even think he has a $5,000 amp. And I started just chuckling on the idea of putting a $5,000 pedal into a non-$5,000 amp. And I thought, wow, that's really weird, right? Like, I wasn't used to the concept of like, wow. So I go, I wonder what he put it through. I wonder if he put through his PRS amp or one of the others. I was sitting there going, I don't know, just the idea of sticking a $5,000 pedal in front of a $1,500 amp seemed a little funny to me. And the reason I say, like I said, I didn't watch it was maybe he did have a $5,000 amp I didn't know about, but yeah, that's my whole joke. It's like, I can't imagine putting a pedal through an amp the pedal costs more than the amp. Just boggles my mind. That's what I'm basically trying to say. So if you ask me, I would rather have a nicer amp. And I love pedals, so it's not that. It's just, I like, I stick with what I say. How about that? I have no idea. Porter Stout Beer says, this is the only channel of its kind I watch. Okay, I appreciate that. Oh, I watch Dylan sometimes too. I like your content. Thank you. So I assume when you say Dylan, you mean Dylan Talks Tone. Yeah. And he makes, he's a smart guy. I've still never tried one of his pickups. I thought about buying one once and stuff. I just, I try not to do that stuff anymore. I used to buy stuff and I go, I'm going to do a video. And then the stuff just rots in my garage because I haven't got the videos I got to. But I assume, I've said this before, I assume he makes good pickups because he definitely knows his stuff. So, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. Pickups are just like pedals and anything else. You know, it's there's a little bit of finesse to them, but pretty much, you know, if you learn the anatomy of them, you got a concept. TJ says, Phil, my man. Okay, so Phil, my man. My main man. My chow mein. Oh my God, man. Have you played any of... Oh, Serotonin Notes. Okay, so it's because I didn't answer the first one. You did the second one. I understand. I got to it. We'll still do it. And then Justin Mabe did a super chat to say thank you. And I don't know why you're thinking of me, Justin. Thank you for your service. How about that? And then the last one is going to be Mean Mr. Mustard, by the way. And then I'll go back to the other side and we'll button this up. Nick says, hey, Phil, I got a 94 Made in Japan Strat. Had it refretted 2 years ago. Massive fret sprout now. Wow, that's really weird. Huh. Okay, let me go on to the rest. I got to process that. Any humidifier to recommend I want to try before filing? I mean, you can. Look, it's hard to moisturize the wood. Oh my God. It's hard. You know, I've seen that on videos where, and again, everybody lives in different climates. I live in a dry climate. A lot of the United States is a dry climate. A lot of it's not, but a lot of it is. And in the dry climates, the guitars never expand back out. Okay. So, to answer your question, yeah, you could put a humidifier in the room. I have a humidifier in the shop that I use for that. I actually have what's called a humidifier box. I have 2 boxes, one for acoustic, one for electric, that I can put a guitar in there and humidify them for a week or 2 and see what happens, and control it. It does a little bit, but like I said, it's so dry here, so it's tough. In your case, sure, you can do it. You just go down and get a humidifier. What humidifier do I recommend? Anything that's cold. I'd get the cold humidifiers. Don't get the hot ones. Hot ones are probably good for when you're sick, but the cold ones are better for the instruments. It pumps out cold mist or cold humidification. The other one's essentially steaming, and you don't want steam in the air. That's the only thing I would do with that. It's weird that like I said, the fret job itself shouldn't cause. Then remember, the neck shrank, not the frets, and the 94 Strat should have been really dried. So really strange that it did that. Ben says, got 2 guitars from Zounds. Both had 0 packaging, Epiphone box loose inside, larger box. Both broke. Rep said warehouse is too busy to pack. This normal? It's COVID. Everything's normal. Every crazy story. Yes. Yes. I'm, yeah. They're having trouble. Look, they're having trouble getting packaging. They're having trouble with employees. They meaning everybody. It's. I think we're all sick of hearing that, but it's still true. So yeah. Now the question is, what did they do about it? Hopefully, it took care of you. Z-Sounds, so you know, Zounds is AMS. They're somehow connected, different and same. And the reason I say that is because obviously I think it's the same company. I think they even use the same warehouse. I'm not sure, but I know when I talked to him, there was 2 different reps that I had to talk to. Because I know the Zounds guy reached out, and that's why I know it's different, because I was already talking to Greg at AMS, and he was like sending me stuff for do videos with. As you guys know, I did some AMS videos, or in other words, they sent some products out and we did some reviews. And then Zounds reached out to me and said, would you like to do some videos? And I'm like, absolutely. And I was like, I thought you guys were the same people. And then, but then I never heard from him again. Mean Mr. Mustard says, Phil, is Nitro Finishes the last hurdle for budget brands? Maybe really chunky necks as well. Well, chunky necks aren't like a big deal. It's not like the boards are cut that dramatically. You can make a chunky neck still with the thinner board, cutting the 2-inch boards in half. I mean, you still can get away with a little bit there. But the Nitro, is it a hurdle? Well, you got to understand, Nitro is a process. I mean, it's a process. It has to be. It takes just the curing of it when it's all done. Not only the sand buff stuff, just the curing of it. And so you know, it is a hurdle for import guitars that are trying to, what we call fast guitars. Guitars are trying to hurry up and make them. We know it's a hurdle because it's a hurdle for the expensive guitars. Some companies in the US are still not taking enough time to cure the Nitro, and that's what's happening. I mean, it's still happening. I think even PRS is like not taking, I think they're kind of curing their guitars for 5 days or something. It's not very long. And I was like, when I heard that, I was thinking that was really strange. Definitely not long enough, in other words. And maybe they found a way to do it. I don't know, but it didn't sound right. So the point to that is, yes, it's a hurdle for the import guitar guys. The guys trying to make inexpensive guitars. One. But it's not totally a hurdle because remember, Nitro is not the, I mean, everybody's gonna have different varying opinions. I could care less about Nitro. Like if no guitars were Nitro finished ever again, I would not miss it. To me, Nitro, some people say it's a sound. Sure. Right? I don't know. Again, everybody hears things differently. So I will tell you this. Nitro is a look. It has a different look. It ages differently. Like I said, it cracks, it chips, it does this stuff that's cool if you're into that look, this vintage weathered look. And the poly is not going to do that. Polyurethane's going to look like glass. So, and that's why when you see certain guitars overseas that are poly that are relic, they don't look right. It's because it's hard to relic the poly. So, Dave says, I wonder if Paul is watching. I guarantee you one thing, and I only know one thing in life. Paul, if you're talking about Paul Smith, he's not watching. I cannot, I would be shocked if he watched any YouTube, and he definitely wouldn't watch my channel. So there you go. My channel's probably too nerdy for him. Nerdy being like us. It's like William Shatner watching Star Trek review channels. I just don't see it happening, but who knows? Damon Daff says Nitro is too sticky for me. Sure, of course it has. Like I said, there's downfalls to it. Poly can get sticky for some hands. It depends on your hands and how you play. Scut Monkey says Nitro finish is also absolutely horrid for the environment. Well, that's why California pretty much kicked it out. I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of, trust me, there's all valid points both directions. But the realistic thing for me is, sure, do some manufacturers use Nitro because they think it's tone? Sure. I mean, they say that. I don't know if they believe it. I'm sure some of them do. But I really think it's because of a look. They just want the look. And I don't think the import guitars are really looking for that look for the most part. So on that note, we covered it. We did it all. It's over 1,000 people at one point on the channel today. Thank you guys so much for that. Thank you so much. Also, I want to do a shout out. Thank you for everybody who's supporting the new clips videos. So that was a test this week, and you guys are fantastic. Thank you for that. This was an idea that I stole from Joe Rogan. It was something I was messing with for months and months, and I talked myself out of it. And the idea was to take highlights from these podcasts and post them as what do you call it? Filler videos. So in other words, between my normal routine of videos, just put these in between. So you're going to start noticing that's what's going to happen. We're going to be putting about 2 of them a week, maybe 3 of them a week in between the other videos that I do. And that way people, like I said, they're little commercials for this podcast for people who haven't seen it. That's great. And then also it's for things that maybe were interesting and maybe you guys missed it, or for the people that don't want to watch this 2-hour show. And it's also so I can deep dive on some of them and put some extra stuff in them. But mostly what I want to say, thank you. One of the tough thing about stuff like that is that stuff does great for the channel reaching new audience. But one of the downfall of having a channel that has a subscriber base is that when you try to reach new audience, your core audience gets angry with you because they're like, I already saw this. And you're like, but it's not for you. Don't watch it. And you know what? And so that's you get a little pushback on that. And I got a little pushback this week, but I got a lot of praise and I really appreciate it. And thank you guys for that. On that note, I'm going to let you go so I can index this thing and drink my cold beer until next Friday. Oh, next Friday. Next Friday, the show, so pay attention, the show might change next week only to a different date, whether that be Wednesday or Thursday. I think I have a conflict in schedule for next Friday, so I'll let you guys know. So be prepared that it might change to the Wednesday, Thursday, but like I said, I'll put something out there so you guys know. As always, thank you guys so much for your time. Till the next time,